What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Eastern Lariat. I'm your host, Dylan Fox, and today we have a very special episode covering the N1 Victory Final 2023 from Pro Wrestling Noah. So much has gone on over the past couple of weeks, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for following along on Twitter at Eastern Lariat. Thank you to the Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/Eastern Lariat as well. I do want to put something real quick before we get to my guests and what we're going to talk about today. On the Patreon, there's a new feature that came out recently where if you are a subscriber, and I think it might work even if you're not, but you still have to be a subscriber to listen to them. But basically, you can link the Patreon to Spotify, and that really is helpful because the Patreon search engine is really bad. So the Spotify search, you can listen to a lot of our great stuff in the past. And me and Striga, Striga is gone right now at work, doing a lot of work right now, but he'll be back the next episode and we'll talk about a lot of stuff. But we did stuff for the Three Musketeers, the Third Generation. Me and Dr. Jonathan Foy did stuff on Muto. We did our whole series of Week of Lariats. Tiger Cast W, a retrospective on Tiger Mask W, starting up again. That's coming out soon. You can search all the archives up. Very easy. So link to that Spotify. I think it'll really improve your experience if you're a newer listener. But with that said, enough of that out of the way to start off. We've got important stuff to talk about today. And when it comes to Noah, there's only one person that I can turn to, one person that I knew. I told him, even when I DM'd him, that he was my number one choice and my go-to guy. It had to be him. Dean, you are back again.
Hey, Dylan. Thank you for the kind words. I'm excited to talk about the N1. Thought it was a good tournament. I do want to give a shout out to your Chris Brooks interview. We were talking about that a little bit. I thought that was a fantastic listen. Super interesting.
Yeah, Dramatic Dream Dragons, another show I'm part of. Sandre, Yannick, me, we all talked to Brooks, DDT KOD champ right now. Had an interview on that. We talked about all kinds of subjects on there. Not just his DDT run, but his philosophies on wrestling I really got into because everybody knows my background in wrestling, so I sometimes ask more wrestlery type of questions. Hopefully it was interesting to you and anybody who listened to it out there. I know a lot of people liked it, so hopefully everybody liked that. Check out Wrestle Update too. Me and Nello are going to record a show very soon. That should be up, and we'll talk about American wrestling, which is even crazier than DDT, both on and off camera there. CML Anniversary is going to be up too. Lucha Talk should have an episode coming up as well the next couple of weeks. Should be a lot of fun going on there. But thank you for listening, Dean, and thank you for saying that. And I did say that, I told the truth. Did I not? Did I tell a lie when I said you were the guy that I had to go to for the
I appreciate it a lot. I'm really excited. I feel like it's been a good year for Noah. I was thinking about it over the weekend because I was really scared that the mystery man was going to be Alberto Del Rio.
That sounds like Metal Noah right now talking.
Yeah. You. So I was having this moment of reflection to be like, wow, it's been, a long time since we've had any Noah controversy, and it's been a good year for them. So I feel like this show was a pretty good example of that. They're firing on a lot of different cylinders now.
Yeah, shout out to Metal. I know he was worried about that too. I tried to calm him on the timeline. I put up some other suggestions. I want to mention that it turned out pretty accurate, like as it came out to be, nice. Especially with my thinking. So, very good stuff there. I do want to say one thing that will be exclusive. You are the only one that I could trust to say this to, but we would have done this show earlier, but you had a fantasy football draft to do because the NFL season is starting this weekend. If you don't know, Dean is a big New York Giants fan, the G-Men out there. I am, of course, the Carolina Panthers fan through and through. Go back to the archives. Go back to 2016. I told you this. I've got pictures with the jersey on. I got my custom jersey on. Got the hats. I got everything. How are you feeling about the Giants season coming up? That's the thing we need to talk about first and foremost.
I'm excited. I used to be like an obsessive football fan where I knew everything about every team. And then as time went on, especially, kind of correlating with the Giants getting worse and worse, I started to just not be as interested. But over the last 2 years, I've really gotten back into it. And, obviously they did really well last year. A lot of the pieces are in place again this year. And so I'm really excited. My fantasy team is, my knowledge is still, if there was like a rating on it, it's like a 30 or 35 out of 100. Like, I don't really know that much, but I've managed to win my fantasy league 2 years in a row, just drafting on vibes. And I guess I have some good luck. Weird strategies. Like, we have a strange league where it's like 3 receivers. The scoring's a little different. And so last year my strategy was to get Lamar Jackson, but then to get Travis Kelce and George Kittle. So okay. I was taking both double tight ends, and it worked out. I won again. This season I'm feeling good about the fantasy team. I'm feeling good about the Giants, but I've had a Super Bowl victory in my lifetime. So it's I'm satisfied in that regard. And if you get one of those, I don't know if it'll be the year for them this year, but you always got to hope that that's the case. So I'm looking forward to the season. It should be exciting.
Well, the Panthers have come close when we were cheated twice by 2 cheating teams out there. So, this year, though, it's interesting. We had the number 1 pick. Where, of course, the team is run so terribly and mismanaged that we're stuck in a controversy during week 1 where a guy, they said, no, we don't want 2 first-round picks and a second-round picks. We're not going to trade him for that. And then it comes time to pay him, not even a year after you rejected that trade. And they say, what? We can't pay him. We only gave up 2 first-rounders. We could have changed the team. The Rams are going nowhere. We could have had high draft picks. No. And now he's holding out, heading into the week 1 game.
Oh, my God.
So, Brian Burns, what a guy. What a team to even allow this to happen. I can't believe it, but I can believe it only because it's the Panthers. Kind of like when Noah does stuff everyone criticizes. I'm never too surprised by anything they do overall. That's kind of how I feel about the Panthers. I'm never too surprised. But this is a stretch. This situation is stupid even for them. But they have a lot – the offense is all new for us. We're a young team. Nobody has a lot of expectations. But I'm happy about Bryce being here, and I hope that he does good. He showed a lot in preseason. It's just unfortunately the supporting cast showed how lackluster they were. I'm sure you didn't have any Panthers on your agenda to take in the fantasy league this year. I guess if I were to say to pick one, if Sanders can get healthy, he was a good pass-catching back in Philly. But – and he's going to be I think Hurst is going to be an underrated tight end option as well, a waiver wire guy. He won't get drafted, but he's going to be the safety valve because our receivers, Adam Thielen is decrepit at this point. If it was him 7 years ago, this would be a star player. But now he's way past his prime. He's like the Muto of receivers. He was a Pro Bowler at one point. But you look at him run his routes, and his speed rating on Madden would be 55 at this point. That's where my football knowledge largely comes from is Madden, by the way. And I haven't played this year. Hopefully it's changed and done better, but we say that every year, and it's never actually that different.
Yeah, same thing every year.
Although last year I did worm my way up to being in the top 500 players on the PS4 servers of Madden.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good. Considering there's hundreds of thousands of players.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'm a Madden junkie. A lot of my knowledge comes from there. I did play quarterback in high school, but there's a big difference between high school and NFL. I think most people would agree to that. So I don't take that much from it. But Madden, I do. We'll see if Madden's better. We'll see if the Panthers are better. We'll see. The Giants were in the playoffs last year, so I'm sure that they have days of getting back. And with Waller coming in, they have a revamped offense. You got Hyatt, who is a top receiver at the University of Tennessee, which my grandmother is a fan of. Mama is. So you got some guys there. Should be a fun season, but keep your eyes peeled for that because I will talk about it on my Twitter account, hands down. But right now what we need to talk about is Noah N1 Finals. We talked about it off the air before we came on here. This was a long show. this finals. I don't know why they made it this way, but that's just how it worked out at the end of the day. And we'll go through it quickly. Really, I mean, obviously because we'll get to some news because there was some debuts, some things we got to talk about news-wise we'll get into. But the undercard wasn't too overly important, so we'll just kind of get through this early on. They had the pre-show match, Fujimura and Ozawa versus Yone and Owada. Have you seen any more of Owada since we talked last?
Yeah, I went back. There were still a couple house shows that I hadn't watched before the N1, and so I've been going through those. I like him. I think he has potential, but it's hard to tell. I don't know if their philosophy towards their young talent's going to change anytime soon. It still seems like it takes years upon years to get someone up the card. But I think they have a nice little core with these three guys that were in this opening match. And it was a good sign, at least, that, Ozawa picked up the win and not Yone. So they're at least, giving him something. His missile dropkick is cool. He's like someone that I think has a lot of potential to be a real player. And I think we've talked about this before. A lot of it is like presentation. If you look at someone like him versus Yuma Anzai, Anzai is a special talent. He's a generational talent. But a lot of that is also how All Japan portrays him as generational talent. It's kind of like fake it till you make it. If you tell us that this guy is the next big thing, maybe you cover up for some of his weaknesses or areas where he can improve. But Noah doesn't have anything like that where they will try to, I guess Kaito was the last one. But I don't know. I would like to see them sort of maybe speed up the timeline a little bit with some of these guys, but it's exciting nonetheless.
Oh, absolutely. I think Ozawa is a really underrated prospect, honestly. Every time I've seen him, I think he has something that really makes him stand out, and I definitely think he could be a player in this company. He does benefit because there's just not a lot of options that are younger in Noah at the moment. He basically, by default, has to carry a torch, at least at some level, if not 1A, pretty much. But I really like him, though. I think he's got a ton of upside to him. I think people don't talk about him enough. Obviously, Anzai is like such a special level that he's uncomparable to me to any of the other rookies. But if you look at like Oiwa coming in from New Japan, I think Ozawa, even though he's a lot less experienced than him, I think Ozawa is clearly on his level already, and I think he's a guy that should be talked about more, like in comparison to the New Japan rookies. I think Ozawa is a great guy that they have on their roster. They have something with him, and I hope that they cultivate it overall. Like you said, that's not known. They're not known for doing that. If you look at the timeline of their other young guys, and Inamura, obviously, we'll talk about him. But Ozawa, really big fan of his. And Owada, too early to tell, but so far, everything I've said or everything I've saw of him, I've liked what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of crazy to think about, too, that, Ozawa is the future of Noah, just because there's no one else.
Really. Exactly. It has to be him.
Yeah, after Kaito, he is the guy. Has good size. He's good athleticism.
Yeah, unique style.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's, he definitely has the potential to be something huge. So it's fun to watch these early matches and see how they're developing.
Yeah, and Fujimura, very experienced. Good junior guy, I would say, too. So good to see him there. Then we had the opening match on the show, technically, Eita and Hayata versus Tadasuke and Yohei. We talked a bit about the junior tournament they had, which did conclude, and we saw the winners get the title shot on this show. But, yeah. Why did this go 15 minutes into a draw?
I kind of like this match. I'm surprised. It had some really bad ratings on Cage Match. I don't think it was nearly that bad. I thought the action was decent for junior heavyweight stuff, but it seems very pointless. It seems like they just forgot about the junior heavyweight title. There's no match really planned. Hayata's just in random tag matches. It really seems like they just kind of are putting it on ice, which is really weird because every other title at least has something set up. But I don't know. I thought this was like a perfectly fine match, and so I'm surprised that it has super bad ratings on Cage Match. But people just, they hate Hayata, so that's how that translates, I guess.
Many would say that hatred is justified overall,
yeah.
But
that's fair.
Maybe they're just like, look, we give up on this guy. Like, we have him around. They see something in him. Everybody always talks about his female fan base. They're like, we could do that, but we just don't want him wrestling in bigger matches, so we're just going to forget about him. He's going to have the title.
Yeah.
We're not going to put it on anyone else. They can say he's the champion, but we just don't want to see him wrestle ever again in singles matches. And that's not a bad decision. It's bad for the championship because it could benefit other people, but, what do I know? At the end of the day, Hayata, it's not like this is some new phenomenon with Hayata. He's been the champion for much of the last 5 years at this point, as insane as it is to say that overall. Eita's not much better than Hayata at this point, in my opinion. I like Tadasuke and Yohei, actually, as a team. They always work hard. I thought they tried to get the best out of them, but there's just nothing there with Eita and Hayata to me to even get out of. It wasn't like some horrible match. I just thought, why is this the opener going 15 as a draw? That's not... Like, you're killing the crowd, like at the start with the first few matches. I mean, all of these matches that we're going to get into. The next one was the women's match, the 6-woman tag. You got Yuki Takase, Maya Yukihi, and Natsu Sumire. They took on Hibiscus Me, Hiroyo Matsumoto, and Yu in a women's match.
There's a comment on Cage Match from Benny Five Bellies, who makes a good point here. I'll read it. Quote, Noah need to start adding stakes to these matches, as offer matches are having increasingly diminishing returns as the novelty wears off, which is pretty much my main takeaway from this match. Yeah. I like the talent. I think they have some very talented wrestlers, and you and I could book a really cool 8-woman tournament for a GHC women's title, like in 6 minutes. You could get some cool names in there. And I just don't understand why they don't pull the trigger on something, because if it's just random throwaway matches on every big show, it's kind of pointless. Marufuji tweeted today or yesterday about this.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I wonder if that is the end goal. But that was my takeaway. These women are all talented to varying levels. I think Yu is standout. I also like Maya Yukihi a lot. Just do a tournament, get a title, start doing some angles, do some programs, get it going, because this just endless stream of offer matches is starting to not be as fun because the novelty is wearing off. We've seen 6, 7 of them, I think.
Yeah, pretty much every big show, they bring in a similar group of women. Yuki's always there, Sumire's always there, and they'll kind of surround them with others. And I thought this was a perfectly fine match, but like he said, the novelty isn't there. There's nothing important about these matches. It's just solid wrestling. Yu, like you said, great look, stands out. Yuki, just amazing. If I were booking the tournament, Yuki would be my pick to be the champion. She just has a glowing aura about her. She should be the ace of everything. We saw it in Ice Ribbon, but her work is there. Great look, charisma off the charts. Yu, great foil as a power wrestler. Hiroyo, very talented veteran wrestler. Takase, great younger wrestler. Those 4 names right there, you have a great 4 pillars, so to speak, between those 4. If they wanted to build around them, the other, Hibiscus Me is perfectly fine, a fine wrestler. And Sumire is more of a character. She's not really a great in-ring tactician, but more of a character wrestler you kind of put in situations to get her weapons, with you and Hiroyo pretty much. And you could find there's deep talent all over the place in the Joshi scene. I don't know if they're that interested in that. It just seems like something they're kind of doing just to do, because like, oh, now that's becoming a big thing. I mean, all the companies have their own women's gimmicks, so to speak. New Japan obviously had the stuff with the strong title, and the IWGP women's title, as meaningless as they've become.
Yeah.
They do have them. All Japan has the Evo girls, where you've got all the Evolution girls, and they book Joshi wrestlers around them. And now Noah's trying to dip their toes in the water, but they're missing that hook that the other companies have at the moment. And I think that they need that. I still say, and we were talking about this off the air too, them not working with DDT is really ridiculous to me, and I know we agree on that.
Yeah.
But it's also silly to not work with Tokyo Joshi Pro, who is also a member of this, to where you could easily like bring a couple of those girls over and help formulate the division. Suddenly now you've got options that can put you on the level of your Stardom New Japan relationship. You could have great wrestlers. You could do great things. And like you said, Marufuji did tweet this out that was like, if any women's wrestler wants to wrestle in Noah, you message me right now. So if there's any women's wrestlers listening, go to Marufuji's Twitter. You can message him, see if you can get into Noah there. But it does seem like it's something that they want to do more, but they don't know how to do anything except what they're doing, is kind of the vibe I get from this. It's like they want to make this a thing. They just don't know how, for whatever reason.
I hope that they do something big for them at the New Year's show.
That'd be the perfect place.
Yeah, like run a 8-woman tournament and have the final be at the New Year's show. It's like pretty easy to book a division. I've played enough TEW to know it's just, you book a tag match and then the champion loses to someone else to set up a title match. You only have to book so many matches for this mini. It's like a micro division. There's 8 to 12 workers in it. It's not really hard to manage. Have someone on the roster or in the office just be responsible for it and give them something to do because they deserve it. And it's interesting because, All Japan's doing it too. And then they have the Evolution thing too, which is like at least more focused and has some sort of, end game, I guess, with developing these. Is it 3 or 4 women that they have with Zones and Chi-Chi in them?
It's Sunny, 3.
3. But
but I think she left.
Theirs seems to be more about like they're bringing in bigger names, kind of, and like with Unagi and I guess isn't Kairi like working a tag for them, or she did?
No, she's going to at the big show for Yo-Yo.
Yeah,
one of her last bookings in Japan.
Like that's another way to do it, right? Is just like actually make it big attraction Joshi wrestlers. So I don't know. I think they just need to like have a better focus and some sort of creativity on what they're doing because it's starting to be a little boring because it's just the same thing as any other random 6-man on the card.
Either get a title or another idea. Remember when they did the deal that Kotage and Harada were the faces of? They did that junior tournament thing with the points and all of that stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. The N Innovation Cup.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, do a women's cup then for the N1, like a tournament for at least 1 month out of the year, and you build up to it, or maybe not even 1 month. Have it for 3 months out of the year. Make it like a season, kind of, to where you don't have to commit to a division. Because we talked about NFL at the start of the show. I mean, we're going to have a few months, and then it's going to be gone for a long time. Do something like that with your own league, so to speak, with the women, where they get a special cup, they make it a big deal. Maybe they get a main event out of the final, and then for the next 6 months, it just goes away. And they build interest. And they can still do these women's 6-man tags to build, like, keep people fresh, maybe try and find new people, try to earn their way into next year's cup. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. If you don't want to commit to a title in a traditional division, take points from the innovation thing and apply it to the women. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, I love that idea. This company's like averse to tournaments, though, outside of the N1 now. It's very strange. Yeah. They just run these micro tournaments, and they don't do annual junior or tag or junior tag tournaments. But I think that's a fantastic idea. I would love to see something like that.
And I would argue that's a mistake. Like, they should have tournaments like that for the tag league and the junior division. And I think that would help a lot of their talent overall to get shine. And, Yeah, I mean, the junior division is its own thing. We've talked about that. The next match was Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. and Lance Anoa'i taking on Adam Brooks and Stallion Rogers. Nothing match, really. More about the setup for, like you said, we all feared it would be Alberto, and nobody wanted that. But instead, it was another luchador, because they'd hyped this up the day before the show or whatever, where they posted a thing online where it was like a letter where it's like, my blood is better than yours. I've seen your success in another country, and I'm coming for you, Wagner. And so they set it up. I had thought that it would be one of three people. The first one I had in mind was Jacob Fatu, because they had something with Anoa'i. He was in this match. I thought I felt like them doing their own bloodline would be on brand for their promotional tactics. Yeah, pretty much. And he's a very talented guy, and he has issues in America, so he might want to leave the country for a while. That may benefit him on his own. My second pick was Blue Demon Jr., who took the hair of his father, Dr. Wagner, Dr. Wagner Jr., and the third was the one who took his mask, which was Psycho Clown, and that is who it turned out to be overall. And it makes perfect sense with their history of him and his dad. Maybe they will bring in Dr. Wagner Jr. for some shows in Noah to team with his son, and you can build stuff with Psycho, him and Negro Casas, who are related in family as well. So you could see that, like Psycho Clown he married into the family. They're not blood related. But still, you could do something like that. They have a lot of options, overall. So Psycho in to challenge Dr. Wagner Jr. What do you think of this pick?
I'm really excited. I wanted it to be a luchador. My guess was, El Hijo de LA Park, because LA Park and Wagner, Wagner's dad have had a pretty storied rivalry. I was kind of skeptical of it being a luchador, because why would the note be in English? They would be, I guess it would be a giveaway. I guess it would be a giveaway that it would be a Mexican wrestler if it was in Spanish, but I mean, there's a lot of Mexican wrestlers. So
just me.
Yeah, but I also thought it could be Davey Boy Smith Jr. because of the whole bloodline thing of him having coming from a wrestling family. But I think that this is a better option than my two guesses. I like Psycho Clown. I think he's a good wrestler. I love to see more Lucha and Noah, because I think it is one of their best and most unique sort of attributes. New Japan has a couple luchadors, I guess. I mean, really just Titan. They don't really use anyone that extensively. All Japan doesn't really have any Mexican wrestlers. Dragon Gate has Diamante. But Noah has a lot. And if you look at the card, there's always big shows have this Lucha Spotlight match. And now they seem to really be going in on Golpeadores with Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf. And now giving Wagner this sort of spotlight and very meaningful story for his next title match is really cool. I think the fans didn't seem to really know who Psycho Clown was, but the thing with Psycho Clown that I think is really cool is it takes you 6 seconds to be like, okay, I see his name is Psycho Clown. He comes out to clown music. He looks like a crazy clown. It's a very straightforward sort of deal. So I think that he will definitely get over with the fans. And I'm excited for the match. I think that they will go all out. I think it should be a really good match. And it's also interesting. I guess there is sort of some sort of relationship with AAA right now, because Psycho Clown, it's hard to tell with who is signed exactly for AAA. I think I asked Lucha Blog on Twitter at one point, how does it work? With CMLL, it's a bit more clear. But if anyone is signed to AAA, Psycho Clown is, from what I can gather. So I don't know. Do you have any insight on that? Is it?
Yeah, the contracts are it's not nearly the same with AAA and like even New Japan or Noah. And a lot of guys, even in Japan, are more. It's not necessarily like legally, and this goes back to the like decades and decades, where it's not like it's necessarily pen to paper. It's more so a guy can work under contract but not be under contract, kind of, so to speak. In AAA, and CML is kind of the same, where it's like it's very clear who's a CML guy because they're so strict. They don't want you. If you're a CML guy and you get caught, so let's say, normally you could say, hey, I want to wrestle on this indie show. Like, let's say you're a CML luchador. And they'll say, okay, no problem. But then, let's say you work on that indie show and a AAA guy is also signs up for that indie show and he's wrestling on it. CML will say, no, you can't wrestle there.
Yeah.
And then if you wrestle there, they will say, you will never work here again. Pretty much. That's what happened with Dragon Lee when he went to PWG. And they didn't want him wrestling with a show with any AAA guy on there. At AAA, it's kind of like the Wild West almost. So like anything can happen. Yeah. There's nothing really official. It's a really, really poorly ran company. Like there's no, and some would say CML is too strict and too outside of the box. Like too inside the box, where they're so old school. They have their rules. Like, if you're fired, you can never come back like 99% of the time. AAA, you could get fired and then be back. I mean, LA Park has gone and left and came back and gone and left and came back a billion times. Like, it's like so many times. So AAA, there really is nothing. But like he said, Cubs fan was totally right. If there is somebody who represents AAA and is signed to them, it would be him. He's at the top tier of it. But even those guys, like Tejano Jr. was a big like AAA guy for years and years. Cibernetico, like these guys were AAA mainstays, and then they left. So really, anybody could leave at any time, to be honest. But if somebody is locked down, it would be Psycho. And so now, there must be something where they wanted to cross the T's and dot the I's. And they've had guys from AAA come back way in the past, like 10 years ago and stuff, where they had a legit working relationship with them, and you had guys come over from there. And then you had the era where Super Crazy was recommending people. You had Quesadilla come in, Rocky Lobo, Jinzo, who's an incredible wrestler, Cruz del Toro in WWE now, like a wonderful, wonderful pro wrestler. Like they had some great talent back then from the Lucha ranks. And they've always been very good at getting guys like that. Psycho's a big star, too, in AAA. He's like a legit top star as well. He's not an undercard guy.
Yeah.
He was a part of the horrific Triple Mania show from last month. He was in the main event of that. They had a four-way largely built around his feud with Sam Adonis, who had wrestled in All Japan not that long ago, 5 years ago or so in the Champion Carnival. He had a run there. But the whole year was built up to Psycho and him, and they added Rush and LA Park in for a masked hair match. And Psycho actually got the win in the main event of their biggest show of the year over Sam Adonis. So if you're going to look for a non-CML luchador, he's among the biggest stars you could get. If you're just talking pure star power, Psycho is way ahead of where Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. was when he went to Noah, for example. He was like a total indie guy, like only known for his father, more or less. And now he's grown into being a great worker, and we all love him. But star power-wise, Psycho is way ahead of where Wagner was when he came in.
That makes sense. I mean, I think it's really cool, too, that Noah is, everyone always talks about like overseas expansion and English commentary, and it's very, American-centric in that sense. But there's a huge contingent of Mexican wrestling fans, obviously, and if you can get that audience to get into Noah because they're bringing in a lot of these luchadors, then that's something that's really cool. I mean, Daga too, he's like kind of a AAA associated, right? I know that he works AAA every now and then.
Yeah, he was for a long time, but he's another guy. He left under dubious circumstances and then came back eventually later.
There's another AAA thing that I've kind of gotten wind of. Vampiro said he signed a contract with a company in Japan.
Sure he did.
And Nosawa has those Magic Monday shows coming up. And I don't know if you've looked into that, but apparently it's going to be like a continuous series. So maybe like Lucha Underground, maybe not. I wonder if we're going to see Vampiro on a Lucha Underground inspired Nosawa Rongai produced Noah show in October, because I have a good feeling we will.
Vampiro's a big fan of Japan wrestling, and he's one of the classic examples of what I said. He's been gone and out and had heat and buried the company, then come back so many times. Like Vampiro has, he was like one of the guys running the company during one of Conan's disappearances from the company. Like Vampiro was like the main guy booking the shows and stuff, doing commentary as well. He did a lot for them. He's a legend in Mexico, but he's really old now overall. He had talked about how he had wanted to retire, not that long ago too. So he's a guy. He said so much, though it's hard to really tell what the truth is with him overall. And I respect him as a star, but as a worker, I can't say I'm very interested. But he has wrestled a lot this year. In AAA, he's had multiple feuds with Chessman, Pagano. He's an interesting guy. Vampiro.
Him and Nosawa have like a thing, right? Aren't they bros?
Oh, I could buy it. Because Nosawa was heavily involved with AAA, and he was probably around there too. So I could see that.
I think they're both juggalos.
That's what's really most important.
I mean, that's that's thicker than blood when you're both juggalo. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited for these Nosawa produced shows, because I think we're going to get some real weird Nosawa-ism on it. And it's cool that they're kind of making it its own separately branded thing. Because it's not even it's like Noah presents Nosawa Rongai Magic Mondays.
Okay. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't know how that's going to go if Vampiro is the name involved with it. I can't say my interest is really up there. But I saw a lot of negative on Psycho Clown coming in. And I think it's just the clown thing. Overall, because I had seen somebody, it might have been Metal that said this, that he's just not what Noah fans want. Like, he's a good wrestler, but the gimmick and everything is a turnoff maybe to the fans, which, I mean, they've already had Dave.
Yeah, that was so random. I can see that. I guess, yeah. I think once he gets in the ring, people will warm up to him. It seems more of like a spotlight for Wagner. I don't want to say it's like a thank you, but it seems to me that it's a way to give him a really important story, give him a really important match, and it's bringing some of his background and his story to Noah, which I think is good. That's what you want to see. It'll get the fans more invested. He's obviously going to really go all out for it. So I'm excited for it, and I am interested to see, what else happens with anyone from AAA.
This could also be a different style of match that he's usually having. Like, a Psycho excels as a brawler more than anything. I think they need to do a lucha brawl style match, mass tugging, blood, that kind of thing, if you want to get the maximum amount of Psycho here, in my opinion. But if they do that, I think it could be really good. And it's a nice little thing again. You bring an outsider in, extends this title reign, which everybody loves, as he marches to a year-long reign in November. And I think that they want to have him beat that and kind of move forward with that. And this is a good way to stretch it out for a month or two. So I really wish they would do is bring back Rey Escorpion, because I love that guy. He's a great wrestler. But maybe one day we'll get there with him. Next match was the 6-man tag, basically the men's version of the women's match we talked about earlier. Manabu Soya, Seiki Yoshioka, and Shuji Kondo took on Hajime Ohara, Junta Miyawaki, and Katsuhiko Nakajima. Nakajima slumming it.
Yeah, this was one of the reasons that I was kind of opposed to an Axis member winning the N1, because this is the kind of side effect of that. Like, Nakajima is just going to be doing nothing. I mean, they're doing some good Axis preview tags on the run up to Go's title shot. But if Go wins the title, then, you're just going to get this sort of Nakajima match on every big show where Go's defending, because there's really not much story for him outside of the Axis story. And this was just a nothing match. Like, I barely remember anything of this match.
Totally. Maybe even lesser than the women's match, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with it. All these guys are good. It's just... Yeah. Oh, Juta took the fall.
Yeah. Yoshioka got a win, which is nice.
That is good. He needs to win more.
Yeah, he does. He's someone that I would like to see.
He should be the champion.
He's one of many names you could pick out of a hat that would be a better champ. But yeah, so I was a little just
autopilot.
Yeah, and seeing Nakajima after his tournament and the Kento match, and to just be in a throwaway 6-man.
Yeah.
Not a great trajectory, but it is what it is. I don't think he's going to really be doing anything too important for the next, 3 to 4 months. But
they're just going to have to stall until they get Kento, like, to do that rematch, pretty much, because I don't think he has any other avenues to do anything at the moment.
I do have a possible idea, but we'll talk about it at the end, after the final.
Okay. I look forward to that. Next match, more lucha. We've got Dragon Bane, Alejandro, Alpha Wolf, and Ninja Mac. 4-way match here. And Dragon Bane getting the win here. These guys are always fun. What do you think of them?
I love Bane and Wolf. They're some of my favorite wrestlers. I've been following them for a few years. I think they're so cool. Their look is incredible. They're so athletic. They're still super young. I think the 3-way match they had with just Ninja Mac, that was in 2022. I thought that was much better than this. It had a lot more danger to it, and the energy was a lot higher. This was fine for just some cool high spots. I like Alejandro's new gear. He looked pretty legit, and I was wondering if there was a chance that he would get the win because he got that first elimination.
Yeah, he got the first one,
which is pretty nice. But it makes sense to give Dragon Bane the win if they're going to be challenging for the tag belts. And I think they're on this whole September tour. They're doing some cool tag matches. I'm really excited that they're sticking around because I think they're two of the most exciting luchadors going, just all together. And I'm really happy that they're back.
Yeah, me too. I think that they're fun additions. I feel kind of the same where we're doing this lucha, you're building in all these luchadors, and it's not really going anywhere, is my problem. Kind of the same thing with the women, because obviously Hayata is champion right now. He's not defending against any of these guys. You don't really have any purpose with them. You could have easily have built to a title match out of this, or even a tag title match if you had made it a tag match instead of a 4-way. I don't think that would have affected the match very much, to be honest. But, everybody,
So I think Bane and Wolf are challenging for the vacant junior tag titles. Yeah. So I think they're going to win.
Yeah,
because they were the team that was challenging in the first place. So I'm excited for that because I think the junior tag belts have been pretty good this year, and the division has improved a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that will give them at least some focus. And then I wonder if Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf are tag champs, maybe they have some of those luchadors, instead of just being in a random match, maybe they challenge for the tag titles, which I think could be cool and would give them some more direction.
Yeah, I hope they wrestle against the Noah roster more directly. Yeah, the big spot where they launched Dragon Bane over the ropes, he flew 100 feet.
Yeah, that's
crazy. It seemed like. Yeah, that was awesome. So they did do some big spots here with Bane and Wolf. They just got their act down so well that you're able to do flying stuff like that. And Ninja Mac, always popular with the crowds, such an easy wrestler to get behind. And Alejandro, I think, like you said, great guy to have, great look, underrated player. And he did get the win, the elimination early on. It was him, and then he got eliminated, and then it came down to Mac and Bane, and then Bane won. So, yeah, it was a good match here, but nothing too blow away or anything like that. Then we got another match, another 6-man tag. Good-looking guys. Jake teamed with Jack Morris and Anthony Green. took on the real team of Timothy Thatcher, Saxon Huxley, and the return of the one who should have been in the tournament, Hideki Suzuki here. And Green actually pinned Huxley, so that set up the tag title shot coming up at the big show.
Yeah, it's crazy that Hideki just comes in and is immediately one of the most interesting guys on the card. His stuff with Jake was so good.
I know.
Like, just so good. And he's the kind of guy that Jake, I think, excels against, because you and I have talked about this too. I think Jake needs someone to bring out a fire in him, because he's pretty laid back. Yeah. And Hideki really did. Like, their interactions were just so captivating, and when they were just on the outside brawling and like they were kind of stopping and they were talking trash to each other, and it was so good. It made me miss Hideki. I'm happy that he's back in the mix. I don't know what Angle is here. Like, I don't know if is he gonna challenge for the title if Go wins, if Go loses. He's someone that's pretty well protected, and he's pretty high up the card in Noah. I think you could slot him into a title match pretty easily. But it was just a reminder of what we missed basically for most of the tournament, because he looked so good.
Oh, I totally agree. To me, one of the best wrestlers in any company. He proved his worth last year in the tournament. I don't know what the deal was with him not being there this year, or why they're doing the stuff, why he isn't the tag partner of Thatcher. I can't wrap my head around what's going on with him. But for this brief 12-minute moment in time, he reminded us all once again just how awesome he is, and how great that Jake can be. Because we'll talk about the tournament at the grand scheme of things at the end, but Jake was not a top-tier player in the tournament, in my opinion. Yeah. But then you see him here, and you see, there is something to him. This guy is good deep down. He just shouldn't be working draws with Jack Morris. Probably would be the first idea, that you should not do. But still, him and Hideki, though, there was energy to this. This felt like a real main event. This felt like they were both very motivated. And Hideki, perfect opponent for Jake stylistically. I would love to see that match. I hope that we get it somehow. I don't know if he'll be able to survive with the title long enough for that to happen, but somehow, some way, we need to get Hideki and Jake in a one-on-one match, because that could be fire.
Yeah, totally. The thing with Hideki too is he gets in the ring with people, and there's not many workers like this where it seems like there's real hatred, and there's real contempt, and there's a real issue between him and whoever he has his targets on for that match. And that, when Jake is in that setting, I think he excels, where it seems like, oh man, there's a real kind of rivalry here. There's real heat to this sort of encounter. That's why I think the Nakajima match was particularly good for Jake, similar sort of thing. And, Hideki's had this with Nakajima. He's had this with Shiozaki a little bit. He's had it with Taniguchi, where he could turn a match just on the drop of a hat into this spectacle that sort of feels like, oh man, these two really don't like each other. And, maybe he is just a jerk. Maybe he is someone that is just working the style that not a lot of guys do. But it reminds me a lot of some of the early Noah stuff that I really love.
Yeah. He's like Takayama.
Yeah.
Reincarnated.
Or any of those Kenta and Yuji Nagata matches in the early 2010s.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like they wanted to kill each other. And that's just the coolest thing in wrestling to me. And Hideki brings that out every time he's out there. And I agree with you. A match versus Jake would be so good.
Yeah, that was really good stuff there. Next match, the junior title match, tag title match, excuse me. Atsushi Kotage and Hiroki, they won the little mini tournament they had to challenge Stinger, Chris Ridgeway, and Daga. I, too, will go to Benny Five Bellies for his comment here that I will also read here. This was a professional wrestling match between the wrestlers Atsushi Kotige and Hiroki versus Chris Ridgeway and Daga. It took place on a professional wrestling card. I think that about sums it up right there.
Yeah, I really have nothing else to say. I was definitely let down because the last time that Ridgeway and a partner had a junior tag title match against Kotoge and a partner was that one that was really long. It was Ogawa and Ridgeway versus Kotoge and Yohei. And I think this was the start of the Stinger sort of malaise because it was an exceptionally long match, but I thought it was an exceptionally good match.
Yeah, the quality was good. That was a good match. I remember that.
They took his boot off. They took Kotoge's boot off to like just destroy his ankle even further.
Yeah.
And this was nowhere near that. This was definitely just a match that occurred. I don't remember really anything other than feeling disappointment at the end of it. Some of the tournament matches leading up to this, I think, were even better, which is weird. I liked Ridgeway with Ogawa more, I think, because they had that really technical sort of hyper focus on a limb style that is really cool to me. We saw it kind of in the semi-main with Ogawa and Zack Sabre Jr. That's what I want to see in Noah, and so this just kind of fell a little flat for me, but I'm very curious to see how he works. Oh, I guess he won't be working with Bane and Wolf because Ridgeway had a personal issue. I hope everything's okay with him, though. Shout out Chris Ridgeway. Hope it's nothing bad.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that because he did post that on Twitter, X, whatever. He would mention that he just wanted some good vibes. So you've got all the good vibes in the world, Ridgeway. I hope everything's okay with you. Whatever's going on back home, I hope it all works out and we can see you back again. Always respected Ridgeway's talent as a wrestler. We saw it in the All Together show, him and Zach. That door was kind of opening that they could do something with that maybe now that Zach's wrestled on this show. I thought that they could build back to that maybe, but unfortunately not to be. Just got to hope everything's okay. They can come back here. And the junior heavyweight tag titles, it's tough right now. You know, the stuff was the Stinger verse was so long, so many turns, the different versions of them. It really hurt the titles, and I thought they were getting onto a good path. This match didn't really bring it back to anything, but we'll have to see. They'll get a second chance later in the month. I would say that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how there's going to be a real stylistic shift now for the division. Yeah. Because it's Dragon Bane and Alpha Wolf versus Ninja Mac and Alejandro. So it's just going to be a crazy spot fest, which is cool. It's different. I want to see, a diverse card. I want to see different styles of matches. My fear is that it might get a little too, gimmicky. But if they can tap into that sort of dangerous and crazy energy they had in that three-way, where they're diving all over and they're hitting the barricades and they're doing these super athletic moves and working sort of that lucha hybrid style, I think it could be really cool for the division to showcase that for a while.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that they're on the right path here, going into a totally different direction to what they've been doing for so long, and I can't wait to see how it goes. Overall, I think I love these titles. They were one of my favorite parts of the whole company back in the 2000s. Obviously, Kenta and Marufuji, everybody knows that, but there were so many great champions. I hope that we get back to that somehow. And then, obviously, Kotige and Harada later on were amazing champions. But I want to see us get back to that level. It hasn't happened yet, but hopefully we will see it more now. Next match was Naomichi Marufuji, Masahito Miya, and the returning Takashi Sugiura. Wonderful to see him back again, and they were on the winning side because Inamura was on the other team. He teamed with Yuki Yoshioka and Yuma Anzai, the two outsiders. And Inamura's been a big talking point of this tournament, obviously, and the excursion. I don't think anybody's too happy with that for all kinds of reasons. But I see the ratings on Cage Match, and I think this match was, really good, honestly. And Inamura was good in his role, but I thought Anzai was the real star of the match here. Every time he was in, even with Marufuji, who is just totally on autopilot in all but the most drastic of scenarios, either title shot or maybe his next, like maybe his match versus Ospreay, he'll bring it out. But even him, when Anzai was in there with him, he brought it out of him, right? He forced it out of him, and I loved it. And Anzai was awesome. Sugiura, loved seeing him in every scenario. Inamura worked hard, did his thing. Yoshioka, he's not a standout player, but he was like a good third man on the team. And same with Kiyomiya, like not standout players, but guys who are good in their roles. But when Anzai was in, I really thought we saw some good stuff. And Inamura, obviously you wish the crowd would get behind him a little bit more, but it was still like his wrestling itself, regardless of the fan support, was so good. I like this match. I think it's an underrated match, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I really like this. I love like an old guard versus younger stars tag.
Yeah.
I think that's just like such a Noah institution, and it's nice to see Takashi Sugiura back. The Inamura thing is interesting. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be gone long. Noah excursions are usually pretty short. I would not be surprised if he's back by the New Year's show. But if he's not immediately a main event player, GHC heavyweight title contender, then that's going to be dire. Because now you have to just pull the trigger. He's getting his time away. He's going to get some seasoning. He's been announced for 2 matches in progress, which is, that's something.
Great.
He will be wrestling in the United Kingdom. That is a fact.
I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he might show up in Rev Pro. I think that they could probably cook up some more interesting stuff for him with the Rev Pro talent pool.
Yeah.
But who knows? I think I'm very curious to see what he is positioned as when he returns.
Who's even in progress these days?
I can't name anyone.
Well, we don't know.
Regularly. There's a guy called Man Like Darius, I think.
Dream match for Inamura.
Yeah. But Rev Pro, I mean, they got a lot of New Japan guys. Maybe you get him in there with like Ishii, or you get him in there with, Rev Pro is like a weird nexus of booking a lot of different talent. So I hope he makes it there eventually, because I think he'd be able to work a higher level wrestler. The thing with going on an excursion to the UK and wrestling Progress and UK Indies is that the talent level of wrestler he will be working with is significantly worse than Noah. So what do you really learn in that situation other than, maybe a different culture just because you're living outside of Japan, and maybe for your personal growth, it's probably beneficial. It's a new experience. But when it comes to your in-ring performance, he's going to be one of the most talented, if not the most talented guys on any Progress card he shows up on. So you're not going to be learning too much in that regard. So I'm curious to see how it pans out, but I really hope that Rev Pro gives him a few dates.
It's just interesting. I mean, it's hard to determine because there just hasn't been that many opportunities for excursions. But, Kaito's, he lasted a while. He was gone for a year or so, and Junta was gone for a while, then came back for that one match and then went away again on there. So it's like they have had long excursions. There just hasn't been that many of them ultimately.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to make of this, to be honest. It just feels like we're kicking the can down the road like they always do. Kind of like that's kind of how I feel about him. I wish I had more enthusiasm that this was all part of some grand plan with him. Because his talent level is so high that like I said, to me, when I look at him, I see this guy should be a top star at this point. Like heading into his 30s, we should be on the cusp of him ascending to the main event level. Like he should have been in the Soya role in this tournament. And I like Soya. Don't get me wrong. He had a great tournament performance-wise. But for the good of the company, he should have been at that level by this point, in my opinion. It's just hard to see. Like when you look at Kiyomiya, I really see a lot of similarities to Inamura, like in terms of how they used Kiyomiya for so long, and we had so much hope for so many years, and it felt like they were always a step behind of where they could have been, and that's kind of how I feel about with Inamura right now. So hopefully you're right, and this leads to a big push going forward, and they see something in him, which they should, because he's so talented and good. I think it would be good if he changed his look, actually, to be honest. That's what he really needs to learn. Go to the tailors in the UK, get their style sense in, get some new colors in, change up this, like, construction tape, metal chain, like, whatever this is, gear he's got. Get rid of all that crap, and let's get some good stuff in here, and I think that will help him a lot. But the wrestling-wise, I love his wrestling. Like, great talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because he has been someone that's been so talented, and we've seen his talent, and he hasn't done really anything of value other than one national title match. But if you look at the timeline in comparison to, like, Yota Tsuji, for example, if Inamura comes back in early 2024 and is, or let's say mid 2024 even, if he comes back in like June and is immediately a main event player, it basically is like 5 years from his debut to that moment. And that's what the New Japan pipeline has been like for most of the last 3 to 7 years for all the guys that they have sent through their sort of training process. They're speeding it up now, but I think it seems like it's been such a longer and more frustrating journey with Inamura because Noah does not do a good job of having clear sort of like demarcations of you're a young boy, you wear black trunks for 2 years, then you go away for 2 to 3 years, then you come back and you're fully formed. They do this weird sort of nebulous thing where it's like he has this fancy gear and he gets this special music, but he's still treated like a young lion.
Yeah, never got a
win. So it's confusing. But I think overall, if he doesn't come back and have a major impact right away, then it's like a lost cause, I think. But if he does, it's a 5-year growth timeline. I know he was like a university. He did, those like university promotions that are pro wrestling run out of like a college.
Yeah, Tanahashi did that.
Yeah, he did that for a while, and he's a little bit older. But I just am saying there's, 5 years is not the craziest. Like, I think it took Hiromu like 7 years or something to go from Young Lion debut to Hiromu Takahashi as we know him now. So,
and he had he wanted to be on Excursion Lugger because his run in Mexico was so successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did take a long time when you think about it. And Desperado's another one. It took him a long time in New Japan to really get where he would go. And hopefully they can, like you said. If they can get behind him, like really get behind him next year, I think that would be a good thing. It has felt longer, and but the potential is clearly there. I think I'd like to see what happens when they start giving him some wins. If they do give him a Dynamite pushback, I'd really like to see that. Overall, that could be some good stuff. The next match was the martial arts rules match. Josh Barnett and Masakatsu Funaki. I love this match. I thought it was awesome. Like one of the best Funaki matches in Noah that I can remember, because he kind of lost his luster when he was the champion. Even though I'm a fan of the style, I'm all about shoot style and all that stuff. I think that's really cool. But he really wasn't doing a lot for me, when he was the champion. Bringing him here against Barnett, who had a lot of energy. I have a ton of respect for Barnett as a worker, martial artist, just person in wrestling in general, and I thought he did great here. And we even saw a shoot Northern Lights bomb to win this match.
Yeah.
How can you not love that? Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love this. I was like super high on this match. This is the best GHC martial arts rules match they've done, I think. And it's cool because they have this nice little division with these older shooters. And stylistically, it's so different than anything else in Noah. New Japan doesn't do this. All Japan doesn't do this. It's really cool. And this match was a really good example of how it can be worked. 10 minutes, pretty kind of frenetic shoot style match.
Yeah.
It's realistic. It's not super. It has a nice sort of balance of being a little pro wrestling, but mostly shoot style. Barnett's pretty good at that. I guess they're going to run it again. He challenged him to a rematch after, which would be cool, but I hope they keep this up with Hideki, with Sakuraba. There's a lot of names. Murakami said he wants to wrestle again. Get him in the mix a little bit. You could even throw a Keno or a Nakajima in here. This idea of this division, I think, has so much potential in Noah to just be a different sort of attraction on these big shows. And I hope they keep it up because I think we saw how good these matches can be.
Oh, totally agree. They did a tease of him and Hideki on Twitter too, mentioning the IGF match they had.
Nice.
Yeah, like 11 years ago. Would love to see what these guys could do in a match. I think that could be fantastic. And they gave him a promo at the end where it seems like he may stick around for a little while longer. Barnett have a little bit of a few tests, a few matches. I'm all for this. And for shoot style, you don't even necessarily even need a belt, really. Just let it be kind of the unofficial shoot style king, pretty much. Like every big show, there's a martial arts rules match, and whoever won the last one is the one that will have it this time. Like let this be their playground, so to speak. Barnett is the king of martial arts right now, or whatever. Just give him an unofficial title to even have a match of this type is like a championship of its own. And I think that would be good. I love the style. I love what he did with it. And I thought Funaki totally hung in there with them. When you hear guys like Murakami, Hideki, that's wins to me. Like that, there's nothing but good things that can come of that. And also, like you said, Keno did have his little run as national champion where he tried to work a lot of the shooters and things like that.
Yeah.
And utilize that. So yeah, totally throw him in there. Even Jake, like once he loses the title, I think that would be a good spot for him to be in this, UWFI division, like unofficial or whatever. Here, I'm all for it. I like the variety, and this match was really great. I thought this was a tremendous match, well worth watching, in my opinion.
They have a deep roster for this when you really go through it, because you have the names you mentioned. You have Thatcher, who worked Bloodsport versus Barnett. You have Fujita. You have Takashi Sugiura can work this style. Shuei Taniguchi can work this style. And I love your idea of like winner stays on, basically. Just have like the guy who won is the guy that gets the match on the next show.
Yeah, like I run the yard. Like
exactly.
Whoever wins. Yeah, exactly.
We came up with two good ideas for their mini divisions. Your women's league and our, King of the Yard martial arts match.
Yeah, look at this. And not even with a title, because I know, like, obviously, like, that's the easiest way to do this is just, hey, let's have a title. But if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, we've just thrown out two great ideas that you can use here. So anybody from Noah listening, please send this up to people and let them know that you can even steal credit for it. It's fine. But just get it done because I'd love to see it as a fan. Semi-main event, Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa taking on Yoshinari Ogawa and Zack Sabre Jr., and they gave Kaito and Oiwa the win here. This relationship built on New Japan, and it looks like Oiwa's coming in for the long term in Noah, so he's going to be on his own excursion, so to speak, here. And Kaito got the win with the horrible shiny wizard on Ogawa here. But the match was good. Like outside of that, though, there's a really strong wrestling. I thought here. Obviously, it's great to see Zach, a classic guy from 10 years ago in Noah. You always remember those times and what he meant to the junior division. Here he came in. It was really good. What do you think of Oiwa, and what kind of role do you think he's going to have going forward in Noah now?
I'm really excited for it for a few different reasons. I think I've seen a little bit of his New Japan work. I think he's a fantastic wrestler with a lot of potential. I think he looked really good in this match. And I think he is also someone that if you were placing like betting odds on who the next ace of New Japan is, he's up there, I think, with Shota and with Yuya. I think those are the three that probably have the best shot at being the next top guy in New Japan. And so if Oiwa becomes this megastar and he's a top wrestler in the country and he always has this excursion in Noah as a primary, because they did a whole interview with him and they're treating it as his like main excursion, that could be really cool for Noah in the long run, because does he show up on big shows once or twice a year to come back to his old stomping grounds and have a big marquee match? He's always going to have this kind of connection with Kaito. I do think that they're going to really give them a nice tag team run. Now that it seems like the Axis story is kind of going on the back burner, I think that this is our next GHC tag team champion. In the early new year or the end of 2023.
I love
I think they look great.
I love that. And at the back end of the show, I'm going to put in a little conversation, like 20, 30 minutes I did with Dr. Jonathan. He wasn't able to record with us, but I did ask him a little bit about the N1 since he was there for some shows. And we talked about this, what was up with Oiwa and Kaito. I love the idea of this being a team that continues. Not just for Oiwa. I think it's a great spot for Kaito, honestly, to be in this role. And I'll tell you why. In this scenario, in this team, this is a role where, okay, maybe it's not the title or a main eventer, but it treats him with respect. Oiwa is here to learn from Kaito. I can learn from you to become better. Yeah. That treats him with respect, which is something he never has had. Even when they give him wins and push him, he's never been treated with respect that he deserves and should have had. This role gives him that, to where now you are good enough to where me, a future top star that a lot of people see a lot of potential in, can learn from you, and I can get better because of you. That's something that can pay dividends in the future and in the short term as well. So I think it's a perfect fit to have these guys be not long term, but for the near future, for the next year or so, have these guys be in a regular tag team, and you could build up to a big match later on where, he tries to overcome his mentor, so to speak. Kaito's in the reverse role that he was with Muto, pretty much, where he's a mentor now instead of a trainee type of guy. I think that will go a long way to boost his profile and respect because I think it would be a really bad idea after the G1 to have him go for the title, like in the near future. I am not in favor of that at all. No matter who would have won the tournament, I think that would have just been bad, in my opinion. But with this, you give him time to grow up and get respect, and now he can be something. I look at how they talked about him after the match, where as Zach in the promo said, yeah, he's the future, but he's still got a long way to go in reality when he's a multi-time champion already. That is not going to fly with him anymore. So give him some respect, let him be the mentor, and you might even be able to craft a hell of a story with him and Oiwa, who I agree with you, great talent, young lion. He could be something, maybe get a new look. Maybe him and Kaito, he can rub a little bit off on Kaito too. Have them come up together with like a similar look. Like Kaito changes his look and Oiwa grows into a look similar to whatever Kaito's look is, and they kind of grow into each other. I think there's a lot of upside to that. I love that idea as a tag team, a regular tag team.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect spot for Kaito. I mean, this individual match too, I thought was really fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Kaito and Zach, man, that was just. They do the first 5 minutes of this match are incredible because they do the things that every wrestler does in a completely perfunctory way. And they do them to such a high level of intensity and precision. And just watching them grapple was mesmerizing. I love that. I'm all about that. And I thought they killed it. And I really think there's a lot of potential for this team to be a major sort of piece of Noah moving forward. I think them versus Axis could be phenomenal. There's a lot of story potential there too.
Yeah,
it's a good move. I'm excited. I think there's like a lot of long-term upside to it as well. Your point about it putting Kaito in a position of respect makes a lot of sense. And, Noah loves that historically, that sort of mentor-mentee tag team.
Yeah.
That's just such a integral part of Noah's history, whether it's, they're only 3 years apart, so it doesn't have the same like father and son energy that Kensuke and Nakajima or Kobashi and Kenta had, or Kobashi and Go. But it's a cool dynamic nonetheless, and I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with them on bigger shows coming up.
And you can even get to the point where maybe before this ends and he goes back to New Japan, because if this is the length of one of their regular excursions, then he's going to be gone for years. Like, he's going to be here for the next couple of years, and he's going to be a part of this roster for the near future. They could get to the point where they break up, and Oiwa takes more of a Punk role against him. It says, you're not a legend. Like, I don't need to learn from you anymore. And they have a match, and that could be a heated feud by the end. There's so much potential with Oiwa in the company, and I think with New Japan behind them, it's all wins. Everybody wins in this scenario. Kaito, Oiwa, New Japan, and Noah all gain something from this. I hope one day the day comes where you could do something like that, where maybe an Ozawa goes on a run in New Japan for a little while. He kind of does a similar run, wrestle different people, gain experience that way. They're not beholden to make him a main eventer or anything, but just give him a little bit of a run. And with Oiwa, I think it helps Kaito as much as Oiwa, in my opinion, being in this role. So I love it. And also down the line, a year in the future, why can't we have Zach in the tournament? Like the N1 next year.
Yeah,
I think he's perfect kind of guy.
I would love that. He's one of my favorites in New Japan by far. It was cool to see him back in Noah. I mean, him and Ogawa even, they could get a tag run. Noah.
They never won the heavyweight belts.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Kaito and Oiwa, their next match is against Thatcher and Taniguchi, which is going to be that's like a real Dean and Dylan match right there.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Big Taniguchi respector on this show here. So we have to love it. And the Thatch man, everybody respects him. They should. Him and Kaito is going to be great. I know we both really liked their title match last year.
Yeah.
And it's only going to help Oiwa to work these different styles. And that's a great thing about Noah. And why it's unfortunate that they are how they are with their young guys, because if you actually look at their shows, their roster and their card, this is like a dream for a young wrestler to be in, because you get the opportunity to wrestle so many different styles, like depending on who they put you against. And like with New Japan, there's going to be some guys who are a little different, but for the most part, the New Japan style is very homogenized among their guys. Like, you're not going to learn much from one guy that you can't learn from somebody else unless they're just at a really high quality. With Noah, you're going to be put into so many different scenarios that it's only going to help you grow. So really good stuff here. And I totally agree. This match was awesome.
One last point about this too, that I think kind of what we talked about with Inamura, right? Inamura is going to work these UK indies. Oiwa is, like you mentioned, if you look at this card, or if you just look at the Noah roster talent wise, I'd put their roster up against any promotion in the world. I think top to bottom, it's one of the most talented rosters on the planet.
Yeah, I agree. I've always said that they have the best roster. It's just how they use them.
Exactly. So is this a better scenario than, going to Impact? I don't know if you've seen the Joya tag team with Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura and Impact.
I hate this. I hate this. Whatever you're about to say, I hate it.
It's like they have this little theme song and dance and stuff.
Yeah, I'm aware of Joe Hendry. I just don't like Uemura teaming with him.
You should watch their little video. It's pretty funny. But that's what Yuya's doing, right? Like, is he really learning that much from Joe Hendry? Maybe he is. Maybe I'm underrating.
A lot of times too, they don't necessarily want these guys to have great matches. Like when Evil was on Excursion, in Ring of Honor, when you just Watanabe,
yeah,
their goals for him had nothing to do with having good matches, and you could see because he wasn't booked on a lot of shows when he was on Excursion.
Yeah.
They wanted him to A, get bigger, and B, try to learn English. And maybe that's what their deal is with Uemura too. But from a wrestling standpoint, it's not like he's what can he really learn from anybody on their roster? I mean, there's guys that are veterans, but it's not like it's. I mean, I love the Machine Guns. Like, they're one of my favorite teams ever. Like,
yeah, no, they have talent. Josh Alexander, I love Josh Alexander.
Yeah, but the thing is, I love those guys. Like I said, huge inspirations to me personally, and a lot of other guys that are good wrestlers. Like Ace Austin is on there. But what can he learn there that he realistically couldn't learn in New Japan from their talent, like from a wrestling standpoint? So a lot of times there'll be different things to look at. I remember when Sho and Yo went on excursion to Mexico, they had them on, and at the time everyone was saying how Yo was way better than Sho, and like he was the guy of the two. And I always liked Sho better, but not now because of what he's doing in House of Torture. But back then I did, and I remember the first thing they talked about was those two there, and they had them on in Forma, which is like their interview show for CMLL. And JCR asked Yo, and he asked both of them about, hey, what have you done to get acclimated to your new environment here in CMLL, like Lucha Libre? And Yo kind of gave a really nondescript answer. It wasn't anything at all, but I distinctly remember Sho saying, I've already started to learn Spanish to where I could help move around the city and help do things. And I was like, okay, this guy really loves wrestling because he's already taken that next step.
Yeah.
Like, he's already taken that. That showed me right there. That's something you wouldn't know if you just keep them in New Japan forever. So there's a lot of times with excursions, there's secondary objectives.
That makes sense. I think CMLL is the other place that you can point to that has a roster where guys are going to learn an incredible amount. And we'll have, I mean, look at Hiromu and Yota Tsuji, and Wato too. Those are the three guys that spent the most time in CMLL, and they all came out with a serious Desperado too. That's a lucha streak to their style. Those are like four of the best wrestlers in New Japan too, for my money. If Oiwa goes back to New Japan with this sort of Noah influence, whether it's suplexes or hard hitting wrestling and more of a technical kind of sharpness to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you're setting up a really fantastic worker right there. So I think it is a win-win-win. It's a win for everyone involved. And I'm really curious to see how he develops and what sort of wrestler he kind of grows into, because now is his time to show out. He didn't do anything too crazy in this match. It was still sort of that young lion move, but it's his first match. I think in a few months we'll see more personality and more of his unique move set and approach to wrestling. But it's an exciting thing overall, and I'm really optimistic about how he'll perform and, his overall role in the company.
I totally agree with that. And CML, great comparison. Their roster, never mind the talent level, you've just got so many different styles. You've got the Maestro style, the technical wrestling. You've got the high flyers. You've got the brawlers. You've got the character workers. So you've got a little bit of everything on CML, just like in Noah. So another place that you really want to send guys. And that's why a lot of the top wrestlers, when they go on excursion, it's to CMLL more than the other places because of that reason. And hopefully Oiwa can get that in Noah here. Really cool stuff. Main event was the final of the N1 Victory 2023. Got an 8.91 rating on Cage Match right now. A lot of people really liked it. And I think the thing is with these two, of course we like it. Like, that's the expectation, that you come in, that this is going to be a great match. Maybe even a match of the year level match. And I don't think it was that great, like, the match of the year level. And people go back to the draw they had, which you said, we were talking off the air about it, that you had watched recently. And I thought that was a really special match. This was a great match, among the best of the tournament, if not the best maybe. But I didn't think it reached the heights of something like a classic match we'll remember I like even last year's final with Kaito and Kaito and Hideki, I thought was something that I really valued when it happened. I thought it was a match of the year level match, and I don't think this quite reached that, but it was still a great match, well worth your time.
Yeah, I agree with that pretty much. I think even the 2021 final with Keno and Nakajima, I thought kind of blew this away. But overall, it's still, I have it at like a 4.5, which is pretty good for me, but it's not going to be my top 10 or top 20 match of the year list. There's something about the Noah style that I think is really just unique. The striking is really what sets it apart for me. No one in New Japan throws chops like Go Shiozaki does. No one in New Japan kicks like Keno does. And that's just kind of the Japanese wrestling that I grew up watching and really look for, and what I want to get out of, watching pro wrestling overall. So that archetype of a match really is always going to resonate with me. But I agree, it didn't really hit a super high level. I did watch their hour-long match last Wednesday for the match of the week on the Noah Discord server. And that match, it's almost too much brutality and violence. There's some spots where it's like 42 minutes into the match, 48 minutes, and Keno is just laying these kicks in and laying these slaps in. And it's no wonder that Go had to take so much time off after this title reign, because there's a PFS stomp from the top rope to the floor. Like, Go just gets absolutely brutalized in that match. And I mean, that's something that really is going to stand out and be a classic match, just to see how much punishment he can endure and still win. This was great, but not match of the year level for me, but still had a lot of that sort of Noah spark to it, and that flavor of, that prime Japanese pro wrestling of two guys just really laying into each other.
How do you think Go's win came across?
I think it came across really well. His story has been really captivating. It doesn't seem like the most logical choice to me. I do think the hook of, he's never won it is sort of gimmicky. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's like that was the cleanest explanation. When we did our preview, which was fantastic, by the way, you did a great job on there, even though we were both wrong in the end, and Jonathan was the one that was right. But that was like I always thought that was the cleanest story. Like, it's something easy. It's not like that to me. Like you said, it's not like, he's won the tournament. It's this big emotional moment for me. But it was the easiest thing for them to hook on, in my opinion.
The one wrench in the story to me is the Axis team.
I hated that. I said that to Jonathan. That was the one thing that if I could change one thing about this tournament, it's not even Inamura getting wins. I would have made sure to put them in different blocks.
I think they should have been in different blocks, but I also think the story for Go over the course of the year would make more sense if he didn't have this Axis reunion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's what I would change. I would just not have them do it. You can do it after he wins the title, or after the title reign, anytime, and just not now. It was so sloppily put together.
It doesn't make sense, because I think it took away from, if the story was Go Shiozaki comes back, he wants to be I Am Noah again. He feels like he wants to recapture his status as ace or captain of the Ark that he had in 2020, and he wants to wear the tights that say I Am Noah, and he wants to wear green, and he's doing an Emerald Flosion, and he's doing a moonsault, and he's like doing this embodiment of Noah gimmick. Put him on that path from the jump. Have him wrestle Noah veterans, have him wrestle Akitoshi Saito, and go through like this sort of history of Noah story, to just be like, let's shove an Axis story in between this sort of thing and then forget about it. It's just it's like, maybe they pivoted last second. Maybe they just wanted to sell a bunch of Axis like photo books and merch.
That's what I think.
But I didn't like it for that regard, because it just seems sort of ham-fisted, and rushed. And that's why I thought Keno was a better choice. But Go Shiozaki is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers of all time. He's probably in my top 5. So I'm not going to complain about it because I love him. But I think Keno would have been a more cleaner choice for the storytelling angle.
And we've yet to see what they have planned for Ariake. If there's something Go related, I don't know what that could possibly be, to be honest. But if there's something very Go related, maybe it'll all make sense in the end. But I'm just not seeing it. Maybe it's above my small mind that they're thinking on right now. But I totally agree with you. The thing is, the Access reunion, when it happened, it was such a great moment. Like when they reunited.
Yeah.
And it felt so meaningful. And now just a few months later, it doesn't feel meaningful at all. He is on his story, and even Nakajima, he's on his story with Kento. Like totally different stories between the two. Why did they have to why couldn't they have waited for this when they could have done more? Like they could have been the tag champions, and I don't know. I didn't like that at all. I wish that they had, and I really didn't like them fighting. Like I thought it was way too soon to get to that. That's something that should have happened next year, like they build to, not now.
Yeah.
So many issues with that. But with that said, let's because I did this with Jonathan, and I'm going to make a very clean cut decision on how we will cover this and kind of give our retrospective here without going 5 hours, which I don't think you want to do, to be honest. But it's okay if you want to. So we're going to go through this group here, this roster, and what we thought of their tournament. And you can say as much as you want about it. And also, what do you think their future holds? It could be something. It could be, hey, he's out of here, we'll never see him again. Or it could be something where, you have a storyline in mind that would make sense. So what do you say about that?
I like that. I'm just going to look at my match log a little bit, my old spreadsheet. And
bring up any standout matches as well.
Yeah, let's get it sorted by just guys who are in the N1.
Yeah.
And I'll give you some takes. But, I'm down to do that.
Okay, so I will start off while you look for that, and I will talk about the man with the lowest points. We talked about him a bit already. Inamura at 0 points. I thought his tournament was very good in terms of match quality-wise. He was a guy that I never felt like missed anything in terms of that match, what was he doing? Like, this was so disappointing. I didn't really feel that way about any of his matches, but I think a tournament-wide issue, not just for him, but for a lot of people. This was a good tournament. Like, don't get me wrong, I ultimately approve of it. Even the absolute worst match of the tournament was still all right. Whatever the worst match was, well, it was probably one of the Huxley matches, so that was probably below average. But besides that, everything else was at least all right, and a lot of it was actively pretty good. But the number of matches that were really special, I think, was very low in the tournament. I think you're looking at a handful of matches that really stood out to me. And I do think we talked about his versus Keno, which I thought was a really great match. And we talked about it that we wish, and it wasn't even his fault. It was really more Keno than him. We wish that he had used the ankle lock after the foot stomp to the ankle. Instead, he used this crossface label lock submission move that he's got in, which is the shoulder, and he should have used it on the ankle. That's my only criticism. But besides that, it was a really good match and probably the best of the tournament for Inamura. And we talked about his future already, pretty much on that end.
Yeah, I think he had a solid tournament. I think it was a little under my expectations, mostly because the gimmick of him losing everything became clear pretty fast. I had my crazy idea that he was going to beat Jake.
It was so logical, though. Your idea. That's the problem. It wasn't crazy. It was perfectly normal, but yeah, it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. He had some good matches. I have him in the middle of the pack right now. I think.
Yeah, that match with Jake was not a great match.
Yeah, I didn't love that. I thought his match versus Jack Morris was good. The Keno match was good. And what else do I have here? I liked his match versus Masa Kitamiya too. I think that was good, but a little under my expectations, but still a solid match. At the end of the day, he's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
He for a winless performance, for a winless tournament, I think it was perfectly acceptable from a match quality standpoint. But hoping next year is a very different story.
Then with 4 points, the mechanic, Adam Brooks, and his pants. What did you think?
Not my type of wrestler. I think he had a decent match versus Thatcher. I think that was his best match of the tournament. But, it's Timothy Thatcher at the end of the day who can get a good match out of, I could probably wrestle Timothy Thatcher tomorrow and it would be like a 2 to 3 star match, I think.
I believe in you. I think you can.
So I don't know. Brooks, is not my favorite wrestler.
And the thing is, like I said, it's kind of a normal thing. Like, I think there's a few that stood out, but I would say like almost everybody kind of underperformed the expectations in a lot of ways. But he was one of them, and one of the most dire examples, like the lowest end. What I don't understand about him is that he really I never saw him wrestle like he did here before. He was always an excitable, high-flying guy for the career that I know him to be. And here in the tournament, he was like, well, I'm going to be like trash-talking, overly douchey heel. And was kind of his role in the tournament. And there was nothing to his matches, to me. I know Jonathan bigged him up. I think that may be Australia loyalty talking. But for me, I just don't think he was the wrestler I saw. Go back and watch his match with I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Mecha Wolf. It was those two in CMLL versus the Chavez brothers, Angel de Oro and Niebla Roja. He was great in that match, and we didn't see anything close to that here, in my opinion. I don't think any of his matches really stood out to any noteworthy degree to even be good at all. To be honest, I wasn't a big fan of his tournament. And the look, the way they used him, I wish he would come back and they would let him be who he was back then, and I think that we'd all be more impressed. But what we got, I wasn't a fan, unfortunately. I have to admit that. Even though I rooted for him because I know you were doubting him hard coming in, but in the end I think you won out.
Yeah.
That's just in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It just wasn't someone that I was too high on. But he's apparently sticking around for another month or so because he's announced for these upcoming cards. So
the return of the pants.
Yep.
Return of the pants. We've got Masa Kiyomiya, 7 points here, third from the bottom, but still, what do you think of his tournament?
Middle of the pack, under the higher end performers, but solid enough. Kiyomiya is someone who stylistically I just love. I really like a wrestler who has both sort of a high impact side with like a big suplex or a big finisher like his backdrop, but also can work a limb work match and really just have a tight sort of match where he's attacking the knee. He's going for the prison lock. His look is great. I like everything about Kiyomiya. He's always someone that is going to have like a 4 1/4 star match for me. Like most, I think he had 3 of them for me this tournament. So very, very, very solid, but not a high level performer overall.
I thought his best match was against Thatcher. I thought he did a great job at working a different style. I also thought him versus Yoshioka was a really good match as well. Like one of Yoshioka's better matches was against him. He really made him look good on the opening night. If they had a better crowd on the opening night, I think that match would have popped for a lot of people. And he was good throughout. The only match that I really have negative to say about it, there was nothing bad about any of his matches. Even against Brooks, I thought he did a fine job. The match with Jake, I really didn't enjoy, to be honest. And it wasn't his fault at all, but I thought that that was his main match, and I don't think he got anything out of it by the end of it. That I really felt like, oh, he gained something from this. Like we'll talk about it in B Block where Soya gained something. Like so, now Wagner gained something. I didn't think he gained anything from any of these matches, to be honest.
That's fair. I think I was a little higher on that match. I thought they did a pretty good job working it for a time limit draw, and the last 5 minutes I thought were really good. He had a really hot prison lock where the fans kind of were it. So, but I think that's fair. I don't know what they want to do with him. He's someone that I really think could be national champion. I think with the right environment, I think he could be GHC heavyweight champion. Like, he is perfect to take the title from Nakajima, and if there's a future where Nakajima is going to have 2 or 3 more reigns before it's all said and done. Kiyomiya should end one of those, go on a V2, and then drop it to someone else. Like, he's at that level, talent wise, but clearly he's not at that level in the eyes of the booker.
Yeah, a good guy. I don't have anything negative to say outside of that match, and I don't even blame him for it. It's much more Jake, in my opinion. That's just not meant for that style. But
yeah,
he's a good wrestler, and I hope that one day we can see him. I loved his tag run with the Inaba. They clearly don't agree with me either on that because they broke them up so quickly.
Yeah.
We will see what happens with him in the future. I don't have any thoughts about him, to be honest. I think he's going to be the same as he always is, but we'll see what happens. I agree with you, though. And like I said, if things were different, him versus Nakajima, and they proved it with the cage match, if they put the time in and build something with him, that can work and be good and get over with everybody. What about the Thatch Man?
Thatcher is like the high end middle of the pack for me.
Yeah.
I gave him a 4.5 on something. What did I give him 4.5 on?
Maybe the Jake match?
The Keno match.
Oh, okay.
I really liked that match. A lot of good limb work. I think he worked really well and very intensely with Keno. I thought that was fantastic. But he didn't. I thought he was someone that I had pegged as, tournament MVP.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone who had been on the way high end of having really good matches night after night. He wasn't that, but he was really solid overall. I think I have a good chunk of his matches around, my 4 or 4.25. So good run, but not the high end, like MVP level I kind of expected.
Yeah, like, we needed him to be Hideki of last year, and it wasn't. Like, unfortunately, as much as I love him, I just don't think he really brought it for a lot of the tournament. But he also was able to get the best out of some people. Like, I thought the match with Jake, to me, was one of Jake's best matches. If not the best, on the first night. Masa, I brought him up again, had a really good match with. I really enjoyed that a lot. I think he did a good job with everybody in his style. Him and Yoshioka was another spirited match, I thought, there that they had. And he's just a good worker. Like, there's nothing bad about any of his matches at all. And he was good in everything, and he was great at times. And he was one of the guys that did break through and have a couple of great matches. So he would still be top-ish end of the tournament if I ranked everybody out top to bottom. But like you said, he wasn't the MVP or even a candidate for it, in my opinion. That's what we wanted, and that was our expectations. And that's who he is as a wrestler. I still believe that in his talent. This just didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe it was the group he was in. Maybe it was the crowds not being hot in some of the matches or some of the shows in general. But I don't know. It just felt like something was missing from where I wanted him to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yoshioka, the Dragon Gate export, came in. What about him? He was another guy you doubted coming in. What did you come away with him as?
I mean, I think I'm still kind of standing by what I said.
Still down him.
Yeah, when we talked like halfway through the tournament, it just seemed like he didn't want to be there. I didn't really see any intensity from him. I thought he had a couple okay matches, but not someone I want to see more of. Not someone I want to see in Noah again. I just don't think that he really performed up to the level of some of the higher performing wrestlers in the tournament.
He's another guy. I really wanted him to be a breakout star because I was such a big fan of his title reign last year. But you basically hit the nail on the head. A lot of times the motivation just didn't seem like it was there. And it's been that way all year, even in DG, since he's gotten de-pushed pretty much. Again, if you watch the Kikuta match from Kobe World, I think that match will be on the level of a lot of these matches. That said, it wasn't all bad. I liked his tournament on its own. Like, if he was just let's say he was a new guy, like a guy who's a rookie wrestler. I liked a lot of what he did, and I especially liked that all of his matches, he continued it throughout the tournament. He won with a different finisher and built to different things through them. And a lot of times when the crowd rose up, they actually did give him some love. They did get behind him at points. But then, like, to me, his best match versus Keno, but Keno was the one that made that match. Like, it wasn't him. Like, and he didn't add that much to it that anybody else couldn't have done. And that's kind of what I feel like about him. I come away thinking he's a good worker, but not special. Like if any good worker could have done what he did in this tournament, and that's not what you want to see with somebody you bring in. And the comparison's right there. When Anzai is one of the guys in, and you're compared to him, then you're gonna lose. Pretty much. And he lost. Like, you compare him to Anzai, even in that match we talked about, the 6-man. Anzai just had so much more than he did, and it's shocking when you consider his veteran status. He's been a world champion of a company, and a good one, and yet here it was totally replacement level to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think technically, like, his body control and his moveset is cool and pretty good. I'm like not a Dragon Gate fan at all. Just and I think
they've had a down year for April.
Yeah. And I think sometimes this happens where, like, I'll hear Dragon Gate fans say, like, oh, this wrestler is so amazing, like, he's one of the best in the world, and then
that got blown away. Honestly,
watching something like this, and it's just like, what are you guys talking about? This is not.
Watching his tournament made me reevaluate like the whole promotion, because it's like, Anzai to me clearly is a better wrestler than him, like, based on this tournament.
Oh yeah, it's not even close.
And he's a rookie, and it's like, is he better than all of? Because I would have put Yoshioka as among the top workers, just 3 months ago, and then you see this, and it's like, is he better than everyone in DG? Like, I got shook by this run that, like, is the company not as good? Well, like, was he not as good? Was the company not as good? I don't know. It was just, it shook my whole thoughts on it.
I think if you compare, like, Noah sent Kaito to the G1, and Kaito was the best wrestler in the G1.
Yeah, exactly.
He cleared everyone in New Japan. Dragon Gate sends their, best to Noah, and he's a complete bottom of the pack wrestler.
I would put him mid tier, but bottom mid tier.
I have him overall. My score was 2 points, so he was ahead of Brooks and Anoa'i for match ratings for me.
You had Huxley ahead of Anoa'i?
Oh, Huxley, I don't even have on my list.
Oh, he's not even rated. Okay,
Let me add him. Let me add him and see where he is.
I was about to skip ahead all the way to be like with that. Wait, what?
Yeah, check. He might be, because he's behind Yoshioka. I had one good match for Huxley versus Soya. But the thing with Yoshioka is that,
I honestly agree. Like now that I'm looking at
it's like, roster, I don't know. So that's something else that just, like, doesn't vibe with me. Maybe it's a stylistic thing. Oh, the point I was going to make is, like, Dragon Gate is a small company in the grand scheme of things. I know, like, they sell a lot of tickets, but they sell a lot of tickets to small house shows all over the country that draw 150 to 300 fans. The wrestlers have jobs in the promotion. They're not a big corporate-backed company. I think it's crazy to think of them as, like, the second. They're way behind Stardom. And when you have that small sort of environment, they're good in that environment because it's like they're, big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
I think when you send them to a bigger company with better wrestlers, they just get exposed. And, I haven't been that impressed from him or, even the Dragon Gate guys that worked Noah a little bit and the spot matches I've seen. But I'm probably overly harsh on them just because I don't particularly like it. But I don't think this was a good example for them.
No, it's been a down year. Now, I got a lot of heat last episode. Me and Stricker were talking about how I wasn't a fan of this guy, Ishin, who's like their secondary champion.
Yeah,
a lot of Dragon fans weren't happy when I said that. But I stand by it, to be honest. There's nothing to prove me wrong yet for him. And unfortunately, if this is your only exposure to Yoshioka, then I would have to agree. Like, when you look at this, I'm looking at the roster right now, the full picture, and it's hard for me to disagree with you. I would put him above Brooks and Huxley and Anoa'i. And then after that, it's like, it's down to him and Morris, pretty much. And he's the next one. What do you think of Jack Morris's tournament?
Middle of the pack, totally.
Yeah.
I think he had a couple, 4 and a quarter star matches. Nothing that I would recommend to, like, oh, definitely check out this match. I thought he had a good match versus Kiyomiya. That was a little bit different. And the match versus Thatcher I thought was pretty good, but nothing, even close to excellent or exceptional. He's a solid hand, but I don't know. I kind of wish that I saw a little more from him because there wasn't really anything that great.
I think I would put Yoshioka above him, actually, but he would be the last guy.
That's fair. I could see that. I think they're kind of similar. Just like really good athleticism. They're built well. They can move. Morris, I think, needs something else to latch onto. He needs some other sort of angle.
Well, his thing is, hey, he looks good.
Yeah, that can only go so long, though, for me.
Yeah, and he's good. And like I said, so we're talking about Yoshioka and Morris now. It sounds bad when you say they're only ahead of 3 guys, but let's say you compare the 4th and 5th worst person in the G1. That these guys are both way ahead of Kenta and Evil and they're like whoever the 4th and 5th worst guys in the G1 were. These guys are way, way better. Both.
Yeah, that's a no contest.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched every match of the G1, and my decision after watching that was that I'm not watching any more New Japan for the rest of the year because I don't get it. I'm off board. I saw enough Chase Owens matches to last me a lifetime. I never want to see him wrestle again. Coughlin, Tangaloa.
Yeah,
I hate Tamatonga. I think Tamatonga sucks.
Yeah, it's rough.
Just not my style. Jack Morris and Yoshioka clear them. It's like night and day. I'd take Yoshioka over a huge chunk of those guys.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like when you're comparing the floor of the N1, that's what made this tournament good.
Yeah, is that
we sound harsh on them, but in reality, this is like for the bottom tier, like the bottom 5 or whatever. That's still good. That's a lot better than a lot of other tournaments. Even in the Champion Carnival, like the 4th and 5th worst guys at that, these guys were both a lot better than.
Yeah. Overall, it was a good tournament, I think. It was all very solid, and I agree there weren't a lot of exceptional matches, but it was all that solid, 3.5 to 4-star matches, which are good. It's enjoyable. 10 minutes long, 12 minutes long, call it a day. But yeah, Morris, middle of the pack, I'd say.
Then there's the champ, undefeated to the last day. I'll say this. I love the push that they're giving him. I think they're doing such a great job with him as champion. And similar to Sonata, he really does remind me so much of – he's better than Sonata as a wrestler. But his personality and how he carries himself and how they pushed him. It's like we're taking this guy who there's – a good base of talent here. He's a talented guy, but there's nothing that really hooks you from a personality standpoint, and we're giving him a lot. We're giving him the group, the good-looking guys. You're giving him a push. His team beat Sonata's at altogether, so he unofficially has a win over the IWGP champion, undefeated in the tournament until the last night. I love the push, and he had some great matches. Him versus Keno, strong match. Him versus Thatcher, great match. 2 of the best matches of the A block to me. But the 30-minute draws, not only did I not like them, I thought they actually ground the momentum of the entire tournament to a halt. Because it was remember, we talked about on the last episode, that great show where Wagner beat Go in the main event. And we were like, oh, yeah, N1 is cooking now. And then it's the next night, this 30-minute draw, like I said, it ground it to a halt for my interests. And I really didn't enjoy his tournament in the grand scheme, although there was good to be had, and there's good about him, and I like him as champion, actually. I think he's done a good job, and I love how they've used him. I just think overall, though, for a champion, I kind of go back to what you said, that you need somebody to pull it out of him. And when you get somebody like that, you can. We saw that with Hideki. We saw it with Keno. But on his own, I think he should lose the title to Go, long story short.
Yeah, perfectly said. I mean, I think that he ended up in the middle of the pack for me, maybe high-end middle of the pack, because the match with Keno I thought was exceptional. That was one of the
that was a great
matches of the tournament. And with a small sort of sample size, that has a pretty big weight when I'm looking at my rankings overall. And then I think he had 2 really good matches, or good matches versus Thatcher, and I liked the Kiyomiya match enough for a 30-minute draw that I thought it was a solid match.
That was probably better than the Jack match.
Yeah, I didn't like the Jack match. That didn't really do anything for me. But the thing is with Jake, I sort of have a Jake Lee conspiracy theory where so if you go back to the Muto retirement dome, they sold 30,000 tickets that were overpriced. Like they raised the prices like crazy for those tickets.
Damn them.
And, Muto took a cut, whatever. It probably was sizable, but it's not like he, took all of it. So they made a ton of money for that show. And part of me is like, okay, why did they all of a sudden pivot to Jake Lee of everyone after this happened? Maybe they were in a situation where it's like, all right, look, we made all this money. Cyberfight's still losing money for what it's worth. Like they, at least in the last fiscal year, they reported that they were still bleeding money. So maybe my theory doesn't really stand up. But I think they saw Jake and were like, you know what? Let's take a shot. Let's do an experiment. Let's see if he's a draw. Let's see if he can work as a big name. Let's give it like the old college try and see how it goes. Because, why not? If you already made all this money off the Muto show, they knew Kaito was probably going to be in the G1. They needed to get the belt off him. So give it a shot with him. And they did the Jake Lee experiment. They really set him up to succeed. Overall, I mean, what do you grade it at? Like maybe a B plus?
Exactly, like mixed feelings. Like, because there's a lot of good that he did. And I thought he really was able to build momentum effectively. If you look, like where he was at in the Kaito defense and where he was at after the Sugiura defense was two different places. And I thought they did a great job. They did, and he did as well. Throughout the tournament, I've kind of gone back down on him. I think my tournament experience with him, I wanted more to prove that he's like a top tier guy, like a champion worthy wrestler. And I don't think I came away feeling like that in comparison to your Go's, Kenos, even Anzai again. Like I would say Anzai had a better, impressed me more in his tournament than he did. And I think that's tough. Like overall, like when it's just tough, man, with him. But I think there's good to him, and I've always liked him and respected his ability. I just don't know if champion is what he should be. Like world champion.
That's fair. I mean, I think his title defenses were better than all of his matches, except the Keno match is the only one that I would put on
I agree
with those. And so you're right. Like, is that what you want your heavyweight champion to be? Someone who has a mediocre tournament with, a highlight match with one of the best wrestlers in the country? That's not really something to hang your hat on. So I don't know. I think his reign is going to end pretty shortly. Whether it's Go, I don't see any way he has the title come, the day after the New Year's show in 2024.
Yeah.
But fine tournament, did not exceed any expectations, and kind of regressed a bit to the level that he's always kind of been at. After having some exceptional title defenses, he didn't keep up that pace. He had one really good match with Keno, and that was about it.
Yeah, if that Keno match was average, then he's a guy I think would not be talked about at all, and even a mid tier. Like he'd be there with Yoshioka, like pretty much,
Yeah.
So that really saved his tournament somewhat to get above those guys. But yeah, where do you go with him? Like after he loses the title, I think it'll be Go. But even if it's not, let's say he does keep it to Ariake and they have another plan that nobody knows about. Where would he go next after that?
I think that he is. So it's not confirmed if he's signed with Noah or not. I think all of our context clues point to the fact that he is signed to some sort of contract. I think he's a very serviceable upper mid-card guy. I like the stable. I think he would be great in the national title scene, maybe as a spot challenger, every other year or something. He's still young. He can improve. I think he's a good piece to have on your roster. Like, I don't think he's someone that I would say, oh, who cares, release him, or maybe he goes to New Japan or something. I don't know why they would take a swinger on him. He hasn't really shown that he's that level, but I think he's a solid upper mid carder, which is, that's still impressive to be an upper mid carder in one of the best, most talented wrestling rosters in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think he's a top star.
Him and Barnett, who's the king of the yard? Like, that's what we need to see.
Get him in that mix. Yeah. I mean, we saw him and Hideki in that, 11-minute tag match put on what he did with Hideki was better than pretty much his entire tournament, other than the Keno match.
It just makes you think what could have been if Hideki had been in the tournament over one of these other guys. Yeah. Imagine if we could just rewrite history, and he is Thatcher's partner. Like, everything Huxley has done is rewritten to have Hideki in his place. I think we'd all be very happy. The world in general would just be better, I would say. But Jake, we'll see. He's a tough guy, to really book now going forward, because he's not – there's no – him and Jack as a tag team is not better than multiple other options, in my opinion. Like you said, national title – that could be good, but it feels like you're the world champion and then you step down immediately. I think they need some time to kind of reset him to get to there. So I like my idea, the Barnett King of the Yard division, the unofficial King of the Yard division that I've started. And I think that would be a good start for it too. And like you said, we saw it with Hideki. So hopefully we can see that. One way or the other, we need him versus Hideki in a match. We need it. Then the winner of A Block just came short in the finals, Keno. I mean, awesome. MVP candidate to me.
Same. I actually have him third overall, just on my match ratings. Fantastic tournament. I love the Keno special. I do think that my criticism of the Inamura match is something that carried to a few of his matches.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic to have in your match, where you work a limb, but then your finish is another limb. I just am not a fan of that for my, nitpicking.
Why can't he just use the stretch muffler?
Yeah. Or just do a stomp to the shoulder.
That would be better too. Yeah.
It's if you're a wrestling nerd, you're going to be looking at that stuff. But overall, I don't think that was really a hindrance to his performance overall. I think the match versus Jake was exceptional. And then I also think the match, I had another one that was really good. Where is it on my list? The Thatcher match, I also thought was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
He had a good tournament, a really good tournament. And so pretty much what I expected to see from him. I did think he would win. But overall, still a good run for him.
And where does he go? Because I think he's in a really interesting spot right now. Kind of in no man's land a little bit. It doesn't seem like there's any immediate options.
I don't know. That's why I thought he was going to win, because him dissolving Congo before this was an indicator to me that his next story was going to be as centerpiece of the promotion, because I do think he's the person that they should build around for 2024. I think he has this rivalry with Kaito that's built in, and you can tap that match whenever you want. I think he has a rivalry with Nakajima that they've shown is an incredible.
Absolutely.
You can do that match at a major show. We just saw he had a great match with Go. He got Jake Lee's best match. He matches up so well with all of their top stars. He's the most vocal, sort of advocate for the promotion. He's always about defending Noah and growing Noah. And
other promotions too.
Yeah, and he's just a great ambassador for the product. I don't know I think now he just pretty much does nothing. He goes back into just mid-card. He's teaming with Psycho Clown, so that'll be fun to see, but that's it, just goofing off in the mid-card. I don't even think I would be surprised if he has anything special lined up for the New Year show.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
It's a shame. There doesn't seem to be any good options. The only thing I could think about, maybe you could do something since we talked about Kaito and his team with Oiwa, which we both love a lot, what if Keno took Ozawa under his wing and say, hey, the Noah rookies are better than the New Japan rookies, and I'm going to prove it by helping him become a bigger star than Oiwa ever will. And you kind of make that a feud for the first few months of the year and heading into it and going out of it.
I'd like that a lot. He needs some story.
Yeah.
I would also be interested to see if they tap into his Michinoku Pro stuff. Because there was a talk of, when Fujita Jr. Hayato came back, I know he had feelings on that. I think that match would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
I would love to see him and Shinzaki wrestle again in Noah.
That would be awesome too.
There's some stuff you could do there. It could be interesting. But I don't know. I mean, he's kind of directionless now, and teaming with Psycho Clown is like the most. No one would have ever guessed that would be Keno's first match after the N1, but that's what Noah does.
You didn't guess it, but it happened. They're always keeping us guessing, and we got it wrong at the end. But either way, I think he's guaranteed to be all of those things you said. He will continue to be a great ambassador, super fun to watch, charismatic.
Yeah,
has great matches, like all that stuff. Like he will still bring that to the table, and we will see the rise of Blue Keno continuing on as he's made that difference. Will he ever get rid of the red feathers?
I don't know. I guess it's expensive to buy a new jacket entirely because it's like modular. He has the sleeves probably come off if he wants to go sleeveless because he did that for a while, and then the lions are like a separate sort of add-on. But
who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew it was so
weird.
complicated?
Yeah.
What about? Unfortunately, we don't have a lot to say about him because he got hurt. But Inaba, that match with Nakajima was one of my favorite matches of the whole tournament.
Yeah, seriously. Even though he got hurt, he still finished like middle of the pack for me, just because he had a great match versus Nakajima, and he had another really solid match after that I thought was like pretty good. The match versus Soya I thought was good.
Yeah, that was a good match too, and he got the win in that.
Yeah, I think he would have had a great match versus Go. So disappointed that he didn't stick around, but I think just that Nakajima match alone earned him some. I think he leveled up a little bit with that match, and I'm curious to see if they give him more spotlight in the next 3 to 6 months.
The fans rallied behind him too.
Yeah,
there it felt like he really is building some momentum, even though he lost that match. It's still one of the standout matches in my opinion. One of the ones I'm going to remember from the tournament. So Inaba, I've always sung his praises and said he was underrated, and I think he really got to show that here in that match. Hopefully they do have something. Love his tag run with Kiyomiya at the start of the year. I don't know if they do have anything planned for him, unfortunately. He's always been such a bottom-tier guy in their booking. Hopefully they could give him something, some kind of team they could do, maybe, bring something out. I mean, you have a story if Huxley and Thatcher continue to be the champions. Have Inaba find a teammate and go try to get revenge over that. I don't know. It's just going to be tough for him, I would say. But I really like his work, though. I think he's very good, and I think he proved in that Nakajima match that he does have more to him than people expected. So that's good stuff there. What about Yuma Anzai? As I said, there was 3 guys that stood out to me as MVP level, and then there was one that was like right behind him. He was one of the MVP level guys. Like, I thought he made every single person he worked with better. From the Anawai match on, like that match was so good, the Anawai versus Anzai match, and I didn't expect anything from Anawai going in, but I thought Anzai bumped so hard that he just made it work. And the crowd was rallying behind him despite being an All Japan guy. Like, they were with him. It's impossible not to love this man. Like, no matter what company you're a fan of, it's like he's so good that I just am amazed by him every time I saw him. And the match versus Go, to me, was one of the best matches of the tournament as well. If he had won that, I would have been through the roof. Like if that had happened. But it still was a great match. I thought he had a really strong tournament against pretty much all of his opponents.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think just from like a pure match rating standpoint, he didn't end up that high for me because I think like his ceiling was a little bit lower than like the higher end performers.
Yeah.
But his floor is exceptionally high. Like his you're not going to get a bad match when he's in the ring, which is extremely impressive for someone of his age. I think he's a generational talent. It was really fun to see him work. I got to make him in Fire Pro after the tournament because I watched all his matches. I got his moveset down. So if you're into Fire Pro, you can go download that. And it's, fantastic worker. Not the highest ceiling, but arguably the highest floor of pretty much anyone in the tournament.
And he had that run in the middle of the tournament. Like his first 4 matches, Anawai, I thought way over-delivered, and a lot of it because of him. Go, one of the best matches of the tournament. Soya, I thought was a fantastic match as well, one of Soya's best matches. And then Nakajima, which was also an excellent match. That first half of the tournament, he was firing. Like I was like, man, this guy is really taking a big step forward, even bigger than I thought. The Wagner match didn't hit as much as the Nakajima match, unfortunately. But he, did his best there. And that was like that run when the 30-minute draws were going on. I think the whole crowd died during it pretty much. Like nobody really had great matches during that era, but still, I thought he was great. And even the 6-man match he was in on the final show, I thought he was a standout player. Again, getting the best out of Marufuji. Those are the kind of wrestlers that really appeal to me the most. It's not just who has the best matches, but who gets the best out of the worst.
Yeah.
And I think he was near the top of the list in terms of that qualifier. Let's see who was next on the ratings. Oh, Huxley. Yeah, to me he was the worst guy in the tournament, and he wasn't even listed on yours. You didn't even rank him.
I did. I just forgot to put his name on the list, but I will say this.
Just so happened to forget him. Yes,
I will say this. He's not my last person. I have him ahead of Lance and ahead of Adam Brooks. Mostly because I do think he is funny, and his whole character is something I think fits in pretty well in Noah.
But not in Real.
No, not in Real. He doesn't really make sense there.
Yeah, that's my issue.
But it's funny there because Hideki's like sort of reactions to him are really funny. Like he seems like he can't control him. So the comedy brings him up a tier for me, or just at least a level. He's still not one of the better. He's still in the bottom third of my rankings, and is actually he's tied for the absolute bottom with Brooks and Anawai. But there's something about him that makes me laugh, and that will get you some points in my book. And I think the Soya match that we talked about when I was on last is like the best example of him being funny when they're shaking the ropes and they're going crazy and they're going outside the ring.
Tearing up the pads.
Tear it up. Yeah. Give me that for 8 minutes. Serviceable. Move on from that. But that's what I would say about Saxon Huxley.
I think there's room for anybody with this look in a Japanese wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
Not in the tournament. A tag run would be great with him. I don't like him and Thatcher at all just because it's such a mismatch. I want to see Thatcher team with someone more like him. And I see the skeleton of a good guy with him. It's just I don't know. I don't think he really fits that well in general. But he does have something different, at least he offers. The look is there, that kind of berserker, obviously everyone will say Brody with the beard and everything. And a wild man gimmick is never not welcome. I just don't think it's something I personally want to see. But I think there's room for it on the roster, just not how they used him. If they could really do something else with him, I think I would have more patience for it than in the tournament. And when I compare him again, we're talking about the bottom tier guys still being pretty good for the most part. I don't think he measures up. Like if he were in the G1, I actually think he would have fit better and maybe not have stood out as much. But I guess that could be a good or a bad thing, depending on your outlook.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, he's not someone that I am really excited about. But
he made you laugh.
He made me laugh. And apparently he did really hurt his knees. That wasn't a joke. His knees got really injured in the Rumble the night before.
Yeah.
So maybe that did impact him a little bit. I don't know how much, but, you know.
And Jonathan told a great story when he was there. He saw Huxley really interacting with the fans a lot and how much his fans mean to him on Twitter and things like that. He seems like a really cool guy. Like, I respect him as a person. Just the gimmick isn't necessarily to my taste at the end of the day. And I wish that they would put him out in the faction and do something different. I could get down with a wild man type of faction. Just not take one guy and put him in this faction of shooters. That's never going to compute with me. But he seems like a really good person. And I respect his love of wrestling. Like, he knows ball at the end. And, hey, I respect him. And I hope that his knees do get well soon, even though I wasn't a big fan of his tournament overall. And you had him over Lance, too. Lance is the next guy. 8 points for the young Anoa'i here. What did you think of Lance's tournament?
Just doesn't do much for me.
I thought he did better than I thought personally. Especially, maybe it was the first match, and I do think he tailed off by the end. But the match with Anzai I thought was really underrated. And like I said last time, I think he's like half of a really great wrestler and half of like a not good wrestler. I think if he were in a tag team where he'd be the hot tag guy, we would all have positive reception to him. But when he has to sell and you have to put the match together, he struggles a lot with that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought his match for Soya was the highlight for me. Just pretty simple, like beef match. And,
that was good too, yeah.
He's just not someone that I am very interested in seeing around. I don't know if it's how do I say this? The whole gimmick and style and lineage and it just seems a little like I feel like I've seen it before. It's just like, oh, he does the big Samoan splash and he does the headbutt and it's like
kick.
Yeah, come on. This was like 20 years ago we had this. If this is like, if we had like Rikishi, let's transport him in time, put him in a time machine. Like there's guys that have done this sort of whole thing better.
Yeah. I think that's another thing with Huxley because it is such an obvious callback because there was a time where this was the jam, like the Samoan badass type of guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very similar to stuff we've seen, but I don't know. Like I said, I really like his offense. I think he brings something different even now to the modern times. Just the whole match quality, I think he's got a ways to go. And I think him and Noah would actually be good for him to learn and grow from it. I think you could see that there's upside there. But I get what you're saying, though. Like, I do get what you're saying.
I think it's like, who is the replacement level wrestler? Like, that's missing. If you look at like a Shuhei Taniguchi, for example.
Yeah.
And like we're Taniguchi heads. We're higher on him than most people.
Yeah, yes, we are Taniguchi respectors.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think Anoa'i would have a better tournament than Taniguchi would have. Same thing with Brooks, Huxley. Like that's the level of wrestler that you're looking at. And at that point, it's like, why are you spending money to fly this guy over and pay his fees when you have Taniguchi right there? So, for me, it's a pass, but, I wish him the best. He's sticking around too for another month, apparently. So we will see more of Lance Anoa'i.
Use him while you got him, I guess. They need to do the bloodline. Like I said, bring it all to Noah.
Yeah.
But he did not prove to be the head of the table, as we joked about on the preview, unfortunately. Nakajima tied with those guys at 8 here. We talked about him. Again, he's another guy that feels like he's in no man's land. But you do have at least the light at the end of the tunnel with Kento. Like, when that comes in, that'll be a big deal, like, whenever that happens. And, I mean, he was really good in the tournament. I wouldn't say he was MVP level the way I felt about Go and Keno, but he was, like, a level below. Like, him and the next guy are kind of at that same, like, top 5, but not top 3 range.
Yeah. I looked at my rankings again. I actually had Keno 2, and I had Nakajima 4. I think he had a great tournament. I think he had a really good match on the final block night versus Go. I think he had a good match with Yuma Anzai. I think he had that Daiki Inaba match is one of my favorites from the tournament. I thought that was amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the first match of the tournament, him versus Soya, I also thought was really good. you know what you're going to get with him at this point, and I think he is really, really good at bringing that Noah style. He's one of the best examples of it. I think he does need the right person for it to work with. Like I thought the Wagner match was a little disappointing. It was solid, but it wasn't really exceptional. But overall, he had a really good tournament just in the matches and in the spots you would expect him to kind of thrive. I think he stepped up to the plate when needed, and overall was like in the top tier for me.
Yeah, I had him fifth. I thought he did a great job in the tournament. You're probably tied for fourth, actually, would be where I'm at. Like, they're so close. He had some good matches, like you said, Inaba. Like, that was a match that had a special energy to it, in it, and he brought some good things to the table. Him and Go, I mean, it was a great match, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like, again, that wasn't something that I'll be putting in my match of the year, like, spreadsheet or anything like that. Not that I have one, but if I did, it wouldn't be in it overall. And it was like still really good, one of the better matches of the tournament, but it wasn't top tier, and I didn't like the idea of them wrestling at all anyway, so I don't think I ever got there with it. But it was still a really good match. Inaba was great stuff, and him and Soya was another great match. So you're looking at three of the better matches in B Block in general, and him and Onsai was a really good match too. I completely enjoyed that. So there was nothing really wrong with his tournament overall, other than, like you said, the Wagner match wasn't as great as it could have been. We wanted it to be next level, and instead it was like a recommended match, and not a lot more. But still a good tournament, and just like we said earlier, like, wait for Kento to get here, and that's when things will pick up. Until then, I think he's going to be mid-card tag match. He got like 6-man tag guy that he was on the final show.
Yep. I mean, he'll team with Go when Go is doing a preview tag. Yeah. But when it matters and it's a big show, he's going to be in the mid-card.
What about Soya? Tied for the lead heading into the last night and actually had the playoff with the draw in the final. I thought he, to me, like I said, never mind talent-wise, he was and he was already a top 5 guy anyway. But first let's skip him. Let's talk about Wagner first, because he was tied with Nakajima. Actually, I forgot about that. Wagner, the national champion, tied with Nakajima at 8, and Oiwa as well. Again, one of the best matches of the tournament was him versus Go, and this is what I was going to say about Soya. Actually applies to him too. That was a win he actually gained something from legitimately, and I think that's something that you can't say that about a ton of matches in the tournament, but that was great. The match with Soya was really good. The match with Yuma and Nakajima were both good, but not as great as they could have been. And the rest I didn't think were too much. So he was really an up and down player, but he had a good tournament overall, I would say. And the win was spectacularly good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had Wagner 6th overall.
And that's where I would have him as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I think when we talked about it halfway through the tournament, he's someone that still doesn't get exceptional matches out of lesser workers.
Yeah.
But he always steps up to match the level of an exceptional worker if he's wrestling an exceptional wrestler. So yeah, I thought the Go match and the Soya match were both really good. Those were high end, probably top 10, top 5 matches for me.
Yeah.
But then the rest of his stuff was kind of just middle of the road. Good, nothing horrible. His presence and his charisma and his star power are really impressive, and he's growing more and more into this really fantastic overall package. He's the whole package, and so that's good. But when it comes to just pure match quality, I think he was great. He's on the bottom of that top tier at 6 overall, but I kind of wish he broke out a little bit more and gave us something special, like in a match versus Nakajima or other opponents that didn't really have anything too special about him. But good tournament overall, and the Shiozaki match is up there for overall match of the tournament.
Yeah, I agree. He stepped up big in that match. And he has the charisma, like you said, just like his dad did. He's growing into the role as the champion even more. Nearing that 1 year mark, they gave him his own storyline at the end. I think he's in a great spot going forward. And I do think he's really worked his way up to where he could be an interesting guy. I do think a world title shot is in his future in 2024 at this point. So he gained something from it, and the win was great. But like you said, from a wrestling standpoint as a fan, it could have been a little better overall. And as I mentioned before, Soya tied at the end. Drew had a shocking draw and made it to the end. Great push for him. And as I said, of everybody in the tournament, he's the one that gained the most in terms of like where he was coming in to where he was going out. Like, hey, they do see him at this level. And I thought that they did a great job with him. And he did a great job, too. He was very motivated. They probably told him at the start of the tournament, like, hey, like, we have you in mind to go far. Like, I think you're going to be alive, like in the main event of the last block show. And I thought he did an excellent job.
Yeah, I'm with you. He was my third overall wrestler, just based on his match ratings.
I think, had him a fourth, yeah.
Yeah, he had a fantastic tournament. And he wasn't someone I really expected to go on this sort of run. But the Nakajima match was great. The Inaba match was really good. The Anzai match was really good. Then he wrestled. I thought the Anoa'i match was Lance's best match. I thought the time limit draw versus Go was the best time limit draw of the tournament, which is, not really a high bar to clear because the others were with Jake. I thought that was a really good match. And then his match versus Wagner was really good. And then the bonus match versus Go was also really great. Like for the spot that they were in, I thought they told an amazing story with the limb work and Go really desperate with the pinning combinations. Just like a real battle of attrition there between two guys that were already exhausted from wrestling earlier in the night. Amazing tournament from him. He really stepped up. I think he goes near the top of that sort of upper mid-carder pile now. Previously, he was sort of just there with Inaba, Kiyomiya, and Amura. I think now he's someone that you could conceivably have as a national title winner or even a GHC heavyweight challenger.
Absolutely. I think that's a testament, considering his veteran status. Where he was like, mid-card big guy in Congo heading into 2023. And after this tournament, he's really gotten respect all year. His match versus Wagner at the start of the year, the title match that they had, a lot of people really liked the night, including me. He did some good work with Keno and all of the tag team run that they had, working in different companies, doing good things overall. He's a guy that a lot of people have taken note of, and deservingly so. He's earned it and done a great job. And in the tournament, he only continued that momentum and even, like I said, kicked his game up a notch here, where he was one of the top guys in the whole tournament. I would put him just short of the three main guys, but I think that he gained the most of any person in the tournament, and his matches were all good. I loved the final thing versus Go. Like you said, it was great storytelling, great work, great selling. It was a completely well-rounded experience to me, and I thought he was just fantastic up and down.
Yeah, it's really nice to have a wrestler that all of a sudden is overperforming and sort of overachieving from what you thought they were, because it kind of emerges as this like, oh, this is this piece that we didn't know we had. And that's really cool to have, a Manabu Soya run that no one was expecting. And I'm excited for him because now he was someone I used to not really care about much.
Yeah.
But now he's someone I'm going to look forward to getting a bigger spotlight and getting some big matches.
And the fans really bought into him too. Throughout the tournament, I thought he did a great job in multiple matches. When you think about it, all the ones that we mentioned, and obviously they set the table in the opening match versus Nakajima, where it felt like a huge win that he got, and he did a great job. Only one left, the winner of the tournament, challenging for the title, Go Shiozaki. I mean, to me, he was my number one MVP pick, and I think he should win the title, to be honest with you. As we've said already, I can't add more than we already talked about. He comes up in all the other guys' best matches. I loved his tournament, and I think he should be the champion. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. He was my MVP as well. I think he had a fantastic run of matches. He's so good in different roles. He's such a good sympathetic babyface. Like he's also good as that crafty veteran, like we saw in the Soya bonus match with the arm work that I mentioned, and then playing the mean veteran against Yuma Anzai. But then, Nakajima kind of beat his ass and Keno kind of beat his ass. And he has this really incredible ability to morph and transform into the context of the match and make you, root for him or feel bad for him or root for his opponent. The Wagner match was exceptional. Just a great run. Will he win the title? I'm not certain that he's going to win. I want him to win just because I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I think he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. When it really comes down to it, he's probably on that short list. He embodies Noah more than anyone. I mean, that's his whole kind of gimmick. There's just something about it that seems, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to throw a curveball, because when you start looking at what 2024 is going to be like, and who you want in the main event at the New Year's show, he's a good name to put in that match, but I just don't know who he is going to face if he wins the title.
I feel that way about Jake as well. Like, there's no easy options, like, no matter who wins, or there's no obvious options about who will face him at the end for Ariake. Well, I don't even really have any good ideas.
Now that you say it, I don't think there's any chance that Jake is in the main event on New Year's.
Yeah.
There's no way they do that. Like, that's just a huge gamble. Go is a safe bet. So then with that kind of angle, because I don't think there's going to be – there could be another title match before New Year's, but then why – that just seems like, why would you rush it, and why wouldn't you just have the person that's going to beat Jake win the N1 and beat him? So I think I would bet on Go winning. But then if you're looking at the New Year's show, who does Go face in the main event? Like, what's a money match that they could do? Throw some ideas at me. I have like a couple, but I'm wondering who you're thinking could step in there.
Yeah, the thing is, like I said, there's no obvious options or even good ideas really on paper to me. Go. Who would he face in the main event? The thing is, I feel like maybe they do have something planned. Again, I mentioned it either earlier in the show or maybe even off the air. But last year they had Nakamura come in, which was something nobody could have ever dreamed of happening.
Yeah.
And maybe Cyberfight has something else like up their sleeve, something nobody could even imagine. That they're just putting all their chips on the table for this. And it's some shocking outside guy. But for what we know now, the evidence we have and the knowledge we have now, there really isn't anybody that I would say would be great. The only one that I think would have a story to it would be Nakajima. But they just wrestled. I don't know. It's a tough spot right now.
So I think in Noah, I mean, if we're only looking at people that are like on the roster that are Noah signed guys,
yeah,
I think Nakajima does have the best odds right now to challenge, because they did that in, was it 2022 New Year's show? That was the main event, I think.
That was, yeah.
That was a big match for them. I don't think that's a particularly like sexy match to run. I don't think that's going to move that many tickets.
Because they were very disappointed with that. That led to Nakajima and Fujita, which was not a good idea.
Yeah, and they just ran it in the N1, and they're also they're a team now. It just seems like that's not what they would go for. So I don't think it's going to be that.
Yeah.
It could be Go versus Kaito. But I also don't think that that's a good move. I don't like that at all. I don't think that moves a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leaning towards your idea that maybe they have a curveball. or like an ace up sleeves. There's 3 names I could think of.
Okay,
I mentioned one to you.
Yeah.
Jun Akiyama.
I think that's a very logical thing that could happen. It's just we have to get over whatever is making DDT and Noah not work together. But he's also working with All Japan now.
Yeah.
Maybe now that he's going outside the box a little bit, that'll open the door for him to be in Noah again and have a little bit of a build to this, because that would be a main event match that has build to it and would be something for Go. That would be really cool, in my opinion.
I mean, if I'm like playing TW and I'm trying to book this card and I have to bring in an outsider, he's on the top of the list for me, I think. Does that move tickets? I was looking earlier. They haven't wrestled since 2015 in All Japan.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty big match, I think.
Yeah, I like that better than the Nakajima or the Kaito options. Like if I and not even just as a fan, just if I ran the company and you asked me to put your wagon behind one of these 3, I think I would pick Akiyama.
2 more for you.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Kenta.
That makes perfect sense. Again, that's something I didn't even think about.
I mean, he's worked the New Year's Noah show before.
Yep.
He's not really doing anything in New Japan.
That's right.
There's a lot of history there.
Maybe they could even set that up to have somebody on the Dome show, like as a Noah representative. Maybe not like a rematch, but just somebody on the Dome show as a representative. I think that's a great idea. And for all of his many, many issues that I hate watching him in New Japan now, when he was in Noah, he had an extra pep in his step.
Yeah.
And I kind of mentioned this in the G1. His best match to me was clearly against Ospreay. And I was thinking about it, that Ospreay is facing Marufuji. Maybe that was a message of sorts that kind of send back to Noah, like, hey, I want to turn it up against the guy who's coming into Noah a couple of weeks ago. And maybe that could lead to something. I like that idea a lot. I think that would be really cool.
I mean, he could turn the clock back, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have a lot of history. Kenta's a name.
You have Kobashi there, President.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this
something
idea.
Interesting there.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But, you know, this is just fantasy booking, so I don't want to get too excited. But I would say the third one that I could throw out there is someone that I think we would probably bet will be on this show, but we had him in a different match. But what if they did Go versus Kento Miyahara?
I was thinking about him if Jake retains the title. Like the ghost of his past coming in to go for the title again.
Yeah.
I could totally see something like that happening if Jake wins. And that could lead to all kinds of stuff with Nakajima as well. Like just him having a meltdown. Like what the? Like he's getting a title shot ahead of me. You know, screw this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could totally see something like that happening. Him versus Go. That's another callback because actually when Go left, they were the tag team champions of All Japan.
Yeah.
You left me behind to carry this dying company, and I carried it, and it would have died if I had left it. You stay. Yes, absolutely.
Like that, there's history there. That could be a big match. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, when you lay it all out like that, I do think that you're on to something with this idea that, you know.
Yeah, a mystery guy that we don't really know about right now. Someone
from left field that we're not really thinking of right now is probably going to be the name because
we ran through the options. None of them.
Yeah, there's nothing there. I mean, they're not going to do Go Keno again. They're not going. There's really 3 names from the main roster. It's Nakajima, Keno, and Kaito. No one else is on a level to main event a big New Year's show. I don't think any of that makes sense. So you're kind of left with an outsider.
Yeah, and I especially love the idea of Kenta or Akiyama. The Kento and Go match I think could be a great match. Don't get me wrong, but I like those two especially because we're in Ariake. Like this is like I am Noah.
Yeah.
Like this is Noah, like to its core. Like both of these guys have great Noah, especially Kenta. I think would be even the best of that. And you can easily see him doing a heelish promo, like you ain't Noah, like I'm Noah, like that kind of. I could totally see that being awesome. So I'm all for it. Like great ideas. I didn't even think of any of those. Akiyama I did, and Kento I thought for Jake, but the Kenta idea, I really something about that that gave me the tinglies in the Noah part of my heart when you said that.
I always want to fantasy book Kenta onto a Noah show just because
no matter what.
Yeah, what he's doing in New Japan is so sad because it's so horrible.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best wrestlers ever, and to see him just withering away with this horrible Bullet Club stuff is just so painful. And he could slot in. I think just like the pomp and circumstance of the match and the smoke and mirrors, as long as he doesn't do like his Bullet Club antics, if he just plays it up like arrogant kind of, jerk, and he does some kicks and some stomps, have him go 20 minutes, that's going to be a great match. So I don't know. It's very exciting because I do think we're going to get a curveball. I think one of those guys is going to be on the card regardless. Like I would bet a lot of money on one of them showing up. Whether it's in the main event or not, remains to be seen. But I don't know what other options they have.
Yeah, and we talked about it, me and John did, about maybe Kento and Nakajima being the main event without the title. And I rejected that because of what happened like the past year with Muto and Nakamura and the title and the controversy. They don't need to go back to that well. They need the title in the main event, like one way or the other. To me, you can't do a special match or anything like that. I think you need the title for sure in the main event of Ariake.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good like semi-main event.
Yeah. Right, if it was for the title, I would go for it as the main event. But without the title, no, the title needs to be in the main event, in my opinion.
Also, Go is one of their best draws. He's been a pretty solid draw for them. I think a big title match versus a name from his past is probably your best bet to sell tickets. And then, in 2024, you can have him have another Nakajima match. You can have a Kaito match. You can have a Keno match. You could do all that. But I think you need something sexy and new and special for a big show to start off your year. And
Let me throw some fantasy booking at you now.
Yeah.
in our TEW reign. Kenta was the name that stuck out to me. So let's say he wins the title, like Kenta beats Go in the main event, and then Kobashi goes to head in the title, and he slaps him and knocks his ass out in the middle of Ariake, talks about how much this place sucks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Like levels Go, disrespects Noah, and says this place is never anything without its best star, me, like the true legend. That's my fantasy booking, that he knocks out Kobashi and they play with that for the.
I love it, because you know what you do if you have this. There's always a classic story of like the evil invader takes the title, right? And now he's a New Japan guy, he's a Bullet Club guy. That is the moment where that's what you get Kaito to come back in. That's how you make a star. You set up an enemy, you set up a villain, and then you have your ace, take it back from him. So I don't know. They should just put us in the office at this point. I think we could book out a year of stuff. That would probably be pretty good. So
we've saved the company basically already through the podcast. Please send this up. Please send this up. If somebody's listening, send this up to the big guys. And like I said, feel free to take credit for it.
Yeah, I don't need
our
credit.
Ideas. Yeah, steal our ideas, but it'll just make us happy. It'll make the world a better place, as I said. So, great ideas. I loved all three of them, and you are just a great guest as always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, taking so much time to talk about the N1 in full review of the tournament, the final, everybody in it. I don't know how you could ask for more, but thank you so much. And as always, before we get on out of here, the spotlight's on you. Anything you want to say, anything you want to get on your chest, off your chest, now's the time.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. I always love to chat about Noah. I'm on Twitter, or X still, DNMT67. If you want to join the Noah Discord, we have a really fun server there. Do a match of the week on Wednesdays, good discussion, all the rumors and stuff. Mark Pickering's on there if you want to talk to Mark. It's fun. But yeah, Dylan, I love chatting, and I'm really looking forward. It's got me really excited for the next 3 to 4 months of Noah. I'm really curious to see what direction they're going to go in, because it does feel like there's a curveball coming. I hope it's a good one. I hope it's not something like totally random and bad, which they do throw every now and then. But thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was an honor to have you on. You were fantastic. The level of insight that I really couldn't name literally anybody on the internet that I would pick ahead of you, to be honest, when it comes to this particular promotion.
Thank you.
If you want to go back and listen, as I said, I'm going to add on the 20, 30 minutes that me and Jonathan did. And me and him also did a show on the Patreon about the All Japan show. Yuma versus Kojima in the main event. We did a whole show on that. That's like an hour and a half. And then we had an extra 20, 30 minutes on Noah. I'm going to put that in at the end of the show. So feel free just to skip to the end or you can just listen to yourself if you're like, damn, I'm so good on there, which I don't do. I'm so unconfident in myself on these shows sometimes. I try not to do that. But if you want to, then no one is stopping you. There's no rules on the Eastern Lariat when it comes to listening to yourself, and definitely no rules about putting yourself over. And anywhere in wrestling, you should always do that first and foremost. But seriously, though, so good to have you on. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to talk to you again, and we'll do it for the Patreon. We've got something cooking, too, on Kaito. We're going to do a special series on there, too. I mentioned at the start with the Spotify. Go search up some of the old ones. Me and Dean are going to do a series like Kaito's first title reign, going back so long ago now. It's amazing. That's 5 years ago. We're talking about 4 or 5 years now at this point. So it's going to be really cool. I can't wait to do it with you. And yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening. Please follow the Eastern Lariat on X at Eastern Lariat. We're on Blue Sky, Eastern Lariat. I invited myself. Jonathan invited me, and then I invited myself, and I used my other account to make the Eastern Lariat account. It's not a lot there, to be honest with you. I'm on Blue Sky, but still, X, you can follow us at Eastern Lariat for sure. Listen to all my other projects and shows coming up. It's going to be some fun stuff. And keep your eyes peeled on Noah and all of Japanese pro wrestling. Right now, we also got Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix coverage on the Patreon. Me and Sandre, Dramatic Dream Dragons, Chris Brooks was on there. Tons of fun was had. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let us know. Let me know. I love hearing from you guys. What'd you think of the tournament? What'd you think of what I've been doing lately? What do you think has been going on? Love hearing all the opinions and fun stuff out there. So with that said, thank you guys for the support, the love. This has been the Eastern Lariat. And as always, you know I love you. Until next time, sayonara.